Good afternoon. Oh wait, I don't have Spotify going. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I have no music. No background music means sad. There we go. There we go. Because we just got some stream safe lo-fi beats. Good afternoon. Happy Thanksgiving to what I sincerely hope will be a very sparsely attended stream because it's Thanksgiving. But for those of you like me who are not really doing anything special today, kind of hanging out at home, welcome in, PB. By the way, I see you over on chat. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I hope you're having an awesome day. I'm having a chill one. I was hanging out on your stream last night, and it was late for me. I straight up like just kind of dozed off. I mean, it was good background listening. It was just kind of like chilling, and then at some point I opened my eyes at night and I realized I had just completely gone to sleep. Not a criticism on you. It was late, and I was kind of sleepy. But it was good to hang out last night. And today, Thanksgiving, I'm actually a couple of minutes late starting because I was setting some things up, folks. I just had some Thanksgiving dinner, lunch. Nice, nice. What was for lunch? I mean, again, I'm literally not doing anything special for Thanksgiving, so I will have a sandwich at some point, like not even a turkey sandwich, just like a sandwich, basically. But here I am, regardless. Um, but I was setting up a couple of things. I want to show off a couple of things that I set up. One is that I now have little dice that I can roll on my face. So if I wanted to roll a d20, I can hit a button, or maybe not. Maybe not. I guess it doesn't work. Never mind. There it is. There it is. Oh, and I hit it twice, and now there's two. Okay, so it took a moment to load, but there we go. And if I want to roll like a d4, they go away after a few. That's a natural one on the d4. That's great. D6. I'm just gonna try them all while I've got them. There we go. Okay, so they do take a second to kick in, but there we go. And there's the d8, d10, d10 for the 100s. That's a 62, not bad. And the D12, because of course D12, look at them. Are those not neat? So we have those now. We have those. So now if I ever need to do rolls on dice and I'm not doing like the little overhead one, I can totally do some dice. But also the other thing that I set up, because I noticed I've had a couple of new follows, some homemade fried chicken, mac and cheese, and jalapeno. Holy shit, that is amazing. Oh my god, that sounds so good. That sounds so good. I'm a sucker for mac and cheese. I know that makes me a pretty basic bitch, but I love mac and cheese. Right? Isn't it? Isn't it? I've got it tied into my full Steam. I don't have a real Stream Deck. I have a Steam Deck, but not a Stream Deck, not the brand one. I have like this weird. It was like $40 like knockoff one, which honestly for $40 does everything I needed to do and then some. Does it have all the integrations that the Stream Deck does? No. Does it mean I had to get weird with it and try and integrate StreamerBot and do some C prime coding to get basically this to happen? Yes. But I got it to work. And the other thing that I have is that I noticed I didn't have following alerts or raid alerts or anything like that set up because I've been a bad person and I haven't done it. So I spent most of the mornings trying to set, so they're not up yet. I don't have subscription alerts, I don't have raid alerts, I don't have anything else yet. I do, however, have follow alerts set up, I think. I'm gonna try and trigger one manually just to see if it actually shows up. So it should show the name of my last follower from yesterday if this runs. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, undefined. Okay, so well, that's a crit fail on the roll. That's great. That's great. Don't know who undefined. Okay, and then it goes away. Cool. Cool. So it is kind of working. I don't know why it didn't get the name this time. What if I happens if I roll it? There we go. There we go. Now it got the name. So that was the last person. So point is, that's. So I had to set up StreamerBot. I had to set up Sammy. I had to set up so much shit to get it to work, but it did work. It did work. I'm all proud of myself. And so now whenever anybody follows, they'll get a little roll, and it is random. It could be anywhere from 1 to 20, and if it's a 1, it's a crit fail. If it's 20, it's a crit success. They play little sounds. And now I just have to expand that to like subscribes and whatnot. But yeah, no, I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm pretty pleased with it. You know, trying to get a theme going. And so we'll add those to the subscribes and bits and whatnot eventually. But at least if we get any follows, which is honestly the most likely thing for me to get, if anything, is a random follow, at least they'll get a little alert and we can either celebrate or commiserate should it be a good or bad roll. Anyway, today's fit, as always, old shirt, wizard has turned you into a whale. Is this awesome? Yes, no, please answer in chat. I'm putting off learning how to roll dice on screen by learning how to random roll cards instead. Yeah. No, I mean, look, I have this, of course. Where to go? Too many buttons. Not thing. Like, right, I have the overhead. So, like, if I just want to roll physical dice, I can do that. But those are also, you know, they'll roll off the table at any moment. And honestly, like, while I'm at it, I can just kind of hit a button, and it almost looks like real. It's kind of wild. They actually, on this surface, they almost look. Look at that. Like, they almost look like they're real dice, except they disappear after a little while. They've actually got a shadow. That's actually kind of cool. I was not expecting that to look that cool. Anyway, so today we're doing Exalted, right? We're going back to it. I spent Monday redoing thinking that I needed to redo the game system. I did need to redo the game system for Cats and Corpses, but also apparently I had kind of done the work before. I actually had the numbers that made the game feel good. So I just now I want to sit down, because I don't want to just tweak the numbers and re-release it. I want to kind of sit down and rewrite it. So that was going to take me a little while, but I'm excited to do that. And then tomorrow, Friday, I'll probably be around and probably go back to working on Seeker's Call. Yesterday we did the video gaming, but today we're going back to Exalted, because we made a character last time, and the hard work is definitely. But thank you. It took me the better part. You know what? I need to actually show off what this looks like, because it's horribly messy. Give me a second. Let me actually switch over to. Actually, no. Oh, this is the right screen. This is the right screen for this. I just need to change the app capture. Change that to. Oh, do I have Sammy? Can you detect Sammy? Maybe I can't find Sammy. Streamer bot. Oh yeah, there it is, Sammy. All right, and then if I turn that on, or not, maybe it doesn't show up. Or maybe I just have Sammy minimized. Okay, I guess it doesn't show up. That's weird. That's okay. Never mind. Also, Stream Elements bot is like just going off today. It doesn't usually go off that much, but today it is just being extra chatty. What is with the bots? Anyway, no, but really though, app capture, you should be File Explorer. No, wait. Oh, because you're trying to show something. No. Wait. Where? Wow, it really does not. Yeah, it doesn't recognize Sammy as an app. That's interesting. Can I just add it? Can I just do application window capture? Can I do that? Just do a quick window. Okay, there we go. Well, not exactly what I was trying to do, but sure, it's floating. Anyway, let's see if we can just show that off real quick. So I want you to show what this looks like. And then it just goes on like that 20 times, because if it's a 3 or below, it gets the data, it does the alert, it rolls the sounds, and then it turns everything back off. And then if you get to, and because there's no way to do a range, I had to do one for every one. And then if roll result is 10 or higher, then it does a success sound. And oh my god. Anyway, this is Sammy is so messy to mess with, but okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make this go away. It's fun though. It is fun. I don't know if there's a way for me to export that, but if like PB, if you wanna, like, it's okay, I was gonna say it's not that hard. It's not that hard. The hard part is finding all the resources and then setting it up. Actually, no, it is kind of hard. It's more tedious is what it is, because these programs are not simple to use. They're just tedious. I like Sammy. I used to use Sammy a lot, and you can pull off some real like this stuff. Like if you really want to get super custom and do stuff like, you know what? I'll bring it up again. Because if you want to do stuff like you want to do it like this, like basically give me a random roll result from value 1 to value 20. If you want to do like something like that, if you want to do randomization, if you want to be able to turn something on, have it wait, turn it back off, the number, like if I wanted to add something here, you can add in like the if statements or whatever. But if I wanted, it's so weird. Like if I wanted to add something, you kind of just have to like hover right underneath it there, and then it'll give you like an option to either paste or add, and you add, and it gives you like if I want to go OBS and literally everything you can do in OBS and whatnot. I'm not gonna mess with any of that. I'm not gonna add anything because that's already, in fact, cancel, just to make sure it doesn't save anything. I don't want to break the poor thing. Yeah, no, oh my god, yeah. So I also have StreamerBot, because StreamerBot is actually the one. Can I just show my StreamerBot? I mean, my StreamerBot's not nearly as complicated. Let me see. Can I do window capture? And yeah, there it is, StreamerBot. Oh, why not? Oh, because I have to show it. There we go. Tiny little, much smaller window, StreamerBot. Let me get that kind of there. But yeah, so this is for the actual dice rolling. This is for the actual, like, so if I want to roll a d20, right? I have that. I have an action. And then that action, the trigger is a hotkey, which I may Control-Alt-Shift-7. And then that executes this whole code, which calls an API with the room number. I'm okay. I'm not going to scroll because that would give away my entire API key. So anybody on stream, if you can guess the last like 24 digits of my API key, oh no, you can roll my dice. You have to save this, whatever. Anyway, cancel there. So it's a whole script, and then that gets kicked off by, just to kind of show you what I've got here. I might as well. You know what? We've got a small audience of fellow nerds. This is so I'm just going to go ahead and change this to now the. Oh, does it show up? I don't know if it shows up. It might not show up. This is a very weird window. Will it capture it? I don't think it knows about this window. Does it? Yes, it does. There it is. So this is the knockoff Steam Deck the Stream Deck that I have, right? So it's got OBS profile, key binding. So this is what it looks like. So this is the dice roll. So I go here. You can see those are the buttons that I have for the dice. And so yeah. So basically, like if I press one of these, if I go like a D6, it hits this keyboard shortcut, which then tells Sam, oh, not Sammy, sorry, tells fucking StreamerBot to go ahead and you know, it hits that key for Sammy to then run that script, which calls that API, which, oh my god, it's so much. Oh, the sub action screen doesn't show. Interesting. Okay, so it didn't show. Okay, so you didn't see the script, but it's basically like it's not a super complicated script. It just is like, here's the API, here's my room name, my API key, and the type of dice I want to roll. And then from the website, it's called like DD Dice, like triple 3D dice, basically. dddice.whatever.com, or I don't know. Anyway, point is, they sort of provide the actual service, and they sell dice models and stuff. I bought one that was like $5. Okay, I should make this go away because this is it has nothing to do with what I'm here to talk about today, which turns out is tabletop RPGs. Anyway, so I've got all that. If we get any follows, hopefully we'll see the other one kick off. Assuming it works. I literally just finished setting that up 5 minutes before stream started. It works when I kick it off manually. We'll see. But everything else, at least we've got dice and the rest of these. So like, curse you all. And all that works. So all my usual stuff is working fine. All right. So back on top. It is tangentially. It is all about the streaming. You know, I've heard part of these pros how they look straight out of Windows 88. Yes, right. They're also like just janky looking. I mean, there's a charm to that. All right. So last week we went ahead and we made a character. We actually made an Abyssal Exalted. In fact, I did put in. Do I have my character sheet? I do. Where's my? I actually have one for that. Give me a second. So this one would split, and then do I have the? No, I should open up the PDF viewer so you can actually see that. And then here, there we go. Actually, it is pulling it up. Whoa, it's being weird about it. Okay, let's just. Do we have the? Yeah, there we go. There's the character sheet. There's the character sheet we made. Bob A. Bissell. let me kind of make this a little smaller so we can actually see him. There we go. There we go. Right, and then kind of just scroll this down. That's horrible. Anyway, we made. I don't care about you. There we go. We made Robert Bob A. Bissell, an Abyssal Moonshadow, with who's a Necro Daddy, and Bone Boy is basically the thing that we set up. We gave him. He's very ambitious among the Bissell family. He wants to reclaim his homestead. He has an artifact and a cousin that from his family is very tied to. He has the Obsidian Thurible, which will substitute my ancestor's ghost for demons, because there's an item that's kind of like this, and it basically counts as 3 will for necromantic rituals when incense is burned in as part of a ritual, except for the actual summon. If you go to page 348, it can be used to summon a specific thing. So that's what my whole character's whole thing. He wants to reclaim his ancient homestead and summon his ancestor's spirit, and he is willing to do whatever it takes. And so he's got a couple. He picked up a Curse of the Dead from dealing with the Necro Lords. He's initiated in the necromantic rites. Can do a couple of things. He can summon skellies, which is fun, and he can control corpses, which is also fun. Yeah. So that's the character that I made, and that he was a moon shadow. So cool. We saw that. I originally intended to make a more of a blue mage kind of thing, but it turns out that there is no real way to do that within Exalted Essence. And I got a comment from someone who's commented before on my videos, and I think I mentioned this during the video game stream yesterday, but I'll bring it up now because it's properly on topic. So this person, Victor, I believe is his. Victor something is his username. Again, Victor, if you're watching, cool. Like, I actually 100% agree with your comments, because I could feel the frustration coming from this Victor. I'm going to assume fellow. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But you can kind of feel the frustration coming from this guy, because look, I said it at the beginning of the stream when I started looking at Exalted. I am not familiar with Exalted 3rd edition. I am looking at Exalted Essence as a brand new player. I am familiar with the basics of like the storytelling system and the D10s and all that, but I did not really know anything about the setting. I did not know anything about the mechanics, how they work, and in fact, this book was designed for supposedly somebody like me who does not know about Exalted, is intimidated by everything they've heard about 3rd edition Exalted and how super complicated and crazy it is, and wanted a more gentle introduction, right? And that is literally what Exalted Essence is. They say it as a statement of purpose. That is basically, they want it to be an intro, and if you really get into it, it flows into Exalted. It doesn't replace it. It's an introduction to that game, right? So I'm coming at it from that point of view, and then as I'm going through it, the game is presenting me with an option. This whole Speaker of the Dead thing, which is the same thing as the Eclipse's esteemed guest and all, which implies that you are able to learn abilities, charms, effectively from monsters, from the Fae or from the dead or whatever. You can't blame me for immediately going like, oh shit, cool, can I make a blue mage? Can I make a mage whose main thing is that he learns the abilities of creatures and monsters and brings them into himself, and that's how he grows? And then I started looking into it, and I tried to make it, and then I found that actually, no, you know what, it's Essence Exalted, even Exalted 3rd edition turns out, and I'm getting to that, but it definitely Exalted Essence doesn't really support that type of character. And when I discovered that, I was like, okay, so I can't make that. If I was going to make that, these are the things that I would do. These are the homebrew things that I would do. I would maybe find, these things, and I would mark them, and I would allow my character to learn them with this mechanic, blah, blah, blah. Or what I did, which was like, oh, okay, cool. I can't make a blue mage. Let's I still want to play like a pet class. I still want to do like a necromancer. I want to like raise the dead to go fight for me. So I ended up making a necromancer, and I'm very happy with it. I'm not saying Exalted Essence is in any way a bad game because I can't make a blue mage. It's just like, oh, okay, cool. The game doesn't support that. That's fine. It's on me. I just got excited about an idea, and then it turns out you can't make that idea in that game. Cool, no problem. But then the comment that was left was, it sounded frustrated. It was like, for God's sake, if you want to make a blue mage, and then gave a set of instructions, including referring to multiple things in Exalted 3rd Edition, which again I don't have. I do not know. So don't get exasperated at me if I don't know the things that I haven't read yet. And B, the suggestion specifically said, and then homebrew this, and this to fit. Which means, friend, we are not arguing. We are on the same side. You have some additional knowledge from 3rd edition, but it turns out that your final analysis on this still requires homebrew. So you can't really make a blue mage with an Exalted. The game doesn't support it as written. You still have to homebrew. So we're not arguing here. We're both saying the same thing. You're saying like, oh, we also have, like, if you go into 3rd edition, there's these other things that make playing a blue mage a little more reasonable, but also you still have to homebrew. So yeah, the whole point of that is to say, like, hey, we're not enemies here. I have no enemies. We are. I get it. I understand your frustration, but also, like, I've been very clear. I'm coming at this from somebody who is coming at this new, right? I'm very familiar with tabletop RPGs in general. As I've said, I literally learned to read with my dad's, like, white box D&D books and original Dungeons and Dragons, not even advanced or anything, like just Dungeons and Dragons. That's literally how I learned to read. Other kids were like reading, see spot run, run spot run. I'm like, see Demogorgon attack, save versus death. So you can't believe I wasn't born with the innate knowledge of all future traded. I am amazing. Let's be very clear. I am just top notch in all shapes, ways, forms, and arenas. But I'm not perfect. Pretty goddamn close though. All right. So let's see. So we made our character, right? So now that we have this, let's kind of go back. So we did our curse, right? And for me, the curse was, and I really like this actually. I really like that each type of Exalted has unique manifestations of their curse. I really like the idea behind the Gatimians and their curses. I'm not gonna deep dive into them because there's a lot to go in through here. How are we doing on time? Okay, we still got it like 5 or 6 minutes before ads, so cool. But yeah, we did this, and then let's see, what's the next part? Okay, we went through character creation. Awesome. We did this. We got our charms. We got our merits. We got our abilities. So nothing that we've seen here in terms of character creation was crazy. Like, this was very familiar to me as a sort of World of Darkness player. Like, this was very similar, very, very similar to the sort of classic and New WoD, really, New World of Darkness character creation, because they do kind of share very similar systems, and of course they share a publisher and all that. So but nothing here was crazy. I was expecting it. I was ready for it, but I didn't find it too wild. Like, I'm really trying to see if there was anything in here. I guess the closest thing, and if we kind of switch over to the one with the character, did I close the character sheet? No, it's just that it's minimized. There we go. Go to the character sheet here. Like, there is the modes of essence that you take, which is cool like that. There's your curse. Like these virtues and minor virtues. Your virtues and intimacies are not that different from like the stuff in World of Darkness. That's like your humanity, some of your goals and stuff. Like it's not terribly more or less complicated. These derived values are very easy to derive. Merits were very similar to what I had before. Again, there's nothing here that really, like some of them, like sagacity, is like, oh, what is sagacity? Right? I had to look it up. I mean, I know what it is outside of the game, but like, what does it mean inside the game, etc., etc. I didn't really play with weapons because I'm not playing a fighter per se. But yeah, there's really nothing in here, at least at basic character creation, that is too wild or different, which is not a complaint. On the contrary, it's like good, okay. So I do wonder, and that is something that I'm probably going to have to do at some point, get 3rd edition so that I can kind of do some comparisons. Because I'm wondering if like 3rd edition, like if there are more steps, more levels of complexity or anything in addition to this. Because here's the thing. Exalted Essence, right, is meant to be this sort of simplified intro, gives you like everything you need to play in like one book that's not, there we go, compare the length, there we go, so about one finger width, like thick, 1 centimeter or whatever. I'm not good at the real world measurements or any game. That said, this is not a simple game. It's on par with the complexity that I've seen with a lot of like just full World of Darkness kind of style games, right? Nothing too like, it's not particularly simple. The only thing that is simplified in and of itself is that you're only getting like a couple of pages per type of Exalted instead of like getting an entire thing. Maybe, but advancement is milestone based. Actually, let's pause here. Before we go into ads, because we will be going to ads in a few minutes. Let's look at what advancement looks like real quick, because that's something you want to know, right? Full in long-term play. Characters advance on a milestone system. Milestones are communal. Everyone advances at the same pace. Allowing characters to face threats on equal footing. I mean, this is basically, yeah, all of them. Yeah, there's no like different levels. This is like real old school. I don't know if you've ever seen like old school D&D. I actually don't know if this happens in 5th edition. I'm not super. I know the basics. I'm not a super 5e guy, so I don't know if 5e still has that, but I know previous editions of D&D, like a fighter would usually go up in levels faster than a mage if you were looking at the numbers. Like there were different levels of XP different character classes needed to get, with the assumption that, oh yeah, it is going to be harder for a mage to get high level, but also mages get fireball, so I don't think that's in 5e anymore. And either way, like it's definitely not here. Everybody goes up the same rate. Dope. So Exalted Essence is 4 types of milestone: personal, minor, major, and exalt milestones. So you got your different types of milestones that let you go up, and depending on the type of milestones, you get specific things. So personal milestones give you a new mode, or repurchase a charm, or purchase a mode unique to your character, or unlock the first dot and fun ability, or you may always gain intensify or change in intimacy or trigger merit. Minor milestone: learn a new universal or exalt charm, evocation, martial art, or spell, or increase an ability by 1. Major milestone: increase an ability by 1, or raise an existing merit, or pick a new merit. Okay, so basically, depending on the type, that's interesting actually, because it's almost like having 4 different types of XP, in that certain milestones, certain advancement types can only happen for specific types of milestones. Gonna have to give that a little bit of thought. You know what? We're going off to the ads. I know we are. You know it. I know it. We all know it. We have to give capitalism its due. But while we're doing that, first of all, here in this corner that we'll be doing at and on the bit right back screen, you'll see some anti-capitalist memes, because that is who I am. But also give it some thought. Let's give this a little bit of thought on this advancement, because I don't know how I feel about specific types of milestones being tied to specific types of advancements. But I'm going to read this over the break, and then we'll come back. All right? So until then, we will be right back. And we're back. Welcome in, folks. All right, so where we left off. I said I was going to read all this during the break. Did I do that? The survey says no. We're going to do that on camera. Did I get distracted while I was on break? Yes. Is the ADHD hitting hard today? Always. All right, so you have these 4 types of milestones: personal, minor, major, and exalted. Personal milestone represents a character accomplishing a personal goal or doing something extraordinary that doesn't affect the narrative arc. Exactly, baby. That's just what's going on inside my head at all times. Okay, character accomplishing a personal goal, doing something extraordinary that doesn't affect the narrative arc. Uncovering important evidence, defeating a rival, describing an amazing stunt, all count as personal milestones. Interesting. Play group each personal milestone collectively once a number of player created goals have been achieved equal to the number of players in the group. Oh, okay, that's interesting. This is I feel maybe unnecessarily complicated. We'll see. We'll keep going. But so the first one is personal milestones, and your personal milestones have nothing, according to this, have nothing to do with the story, right? It's about it's just your character's own story, not necessarily the game's story. So you describe something cool, or you achieve something that's important to your character. Cool. That means nothing on its own, but we'll jot it down. We'll make a little check mark. Dan achieved a thing. Dan got his goal. Dan got to, like, do gun kata in a game, and that's his jam. So he marked down a milestone for Dan, right? Exactly. Make sure to write it down. And it's not until everybody in the group has had one of those that the group gets it, that everybody gets to mark, because it's all group based. No one person is going to get it and others don't. It has to be the whole group. Cool. But now my concern becomes, what about that shy player, right? What about the person at your table that does not immediately, like, leap forward and, like, you've got the person who plays, you got me, right? And I'm playing my little necromancer. I'm playing Bob Abyssal, and Bob, we're in a fight, and so in game I use my what is it called, my charm, life mocking assembly charm, which lets me raise up, if I remember it correctly, a battle unit of skeletons, right? And so I could go, all right, cool. As the fight starts, I use my life mocking assembly power, so I now have, and then I roll a d10, and I have 2. I have two battle groups of skeletons, and they both attack. And leave it at that. Basic description of what's happening. Or I, as a player, can take a moment and go like, Bob steps forward, dark power rising from his feet, glowing up through his body, coalescing into his hands as he looks down at the ground, his abyssal vision capturing the energies of death around him, the corpses that are savaged and torn, and he melts that power into the earth. Abyssal fire raising up skeleton warriors that form a phalanx before him and charge. Same thing, right? Same thing, but a very different description, approach, more thematic, a description in world of how it looks, how it feels. There's more to it, right? Between those two approaches, right? If a person, if a player told me, hey, describing an amazing stunt or defeating a rival, whatever, like this stuff, if the first player has said like, oh yeah, I summoned I summoned some skeletons and I fucked this day up, that's pretty awesome, right? That counts as a milestone. It's like, I guess it's not inspiring me. But the second one, he goes like, yeah, and I think, oh, and that was in a critical moment, and now these phalanxes of skeletons are fucking shit up, and the battle has now turned, like, Yeah, yeah. You know what? Mark a personal milestone. That was dope. Um, but then that almost feels like I've seen this in other games. Like, right, I get the instinct, and this is a hard thing. I don't necessarily have a solution, but I get the instinct to reward good role playing. Of course, right? You want to reward good role playing, but rewarding it with XP, specifically with in-game benefits, almost feels less like I'm rewarding the quote unquote good role players, and um, more like I'm punishing the shy players, the quiet players, the folks that, maybe either don't have the confidence or it's just simply not who they are, right? Some people they're not there to put on a performance. They're there to play a game. They're going to give simple descriptions of their actions. They're not going to embody their character. They're going to tell you what their character does, which is I have no problem with. That's I for one tend to, unless it's a very super immersive game and I'm already deep into it. Like if I'm playing a LARP, I'm acting as my character. But at a tabletop, I very much shift back and forth, right? I might act as my character, but a lot of the time I'll go like, okay, Bob goes and does this. Like I will describe what my character is doing and I'll shift back and forth as I play. But it's again that's my concern there. My concern with this is that it's not just, and it is punishing, quote unquote, the shy player, but in a weird sort of way it's also punishing the whole group, because now what if you have 4 players and 4 of them have achieved those personal milestones, they've done something awesome, and then the 4th player, he's been fine, right? That 4th player has been fine. They have played, they've caused no problems, that everything they've done is fine, but they haven't like burst out into a whole scene, acting out the whole thing and describing in detail some heroic deed. Should I be punishing? Should I be punishing the entire group because this one player, didn't just, that's not in him. It's not who he is. So now, even though everybody else got a thing, nobody gets this thing, right? It's something that you need to kind of think about a little. I for one don't usually like. That's a reason rather why I don't like tying XP to like, oh, if your players do something cool, give them more XP. Like, no, like definitely give them, like, reward good role play, but I think I prefer to reward good role play with narrative, right? I like if you do cool stuff, I will let you get away with that cool stuff, because I'm very much a rule of cool, rule of awesome kind of GM. I view myself, my GM philosophy is that I am here to enable your awesome, right? I'm sure I'm going to tell a story and I'm hopefully going to give you a challenge, entertain you and whatnot. But my goal at the table is to give you as the player a chances, multiple chances, as many chances as I can give you to be awesome, to do the cool thing. When you made your character, you probably, and that's part of like session 0, I try to have that discussion with players. I don't always get to it, but it's definitely an approach that I try and take, and that is like, tell me about your character. Like, tell me what's cool. Why are you playing a warlock? Why are you playing a cyberpunk gun kata specialist? Why are you playing whatever character you picked? What is the cool thing? And this is something that I got a little bit from watching Dungeon Commander, the guy who's writing DC-20, which I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am excited. I am all in on DC-20. I haven't done a deep dive on it because it's not even beta, right? It's super alpha, pre-alpha. Like right now, the version of the rules that exists is like version 0.8, and I think it only lets you raise your characters to like level 2. The next version, 0.9, which hopefully will be out, by before the end of this year, I think lets you bring your characters up to level 4 and add subclasses for pretty much all of them. It is basically like, you know, a response to D&D, right? Remember last year when, or even this year, you know, when D&D, like, you know, the whole D&D 2024, and a lot of people, there was all the drama, and so a few sort of D&D wannabes kind of step forward to try and fill in that potential gap. And there's like MCDM, and there's a couple others. And so the camp I've fallen into is kind of a DC20. I really like what they're doing, and I think DC20 is the most likely suspect, I guess, for becoming my D&D. Like, I'm probably never going to, which look, for somebody who's made a whole point, I'm just gonna put it in chat there. Look, I have a link, right? I'm trying to make money running tabletop RPGs. In a perfect world, instead of doing the stream, I would be running a game for you. Yes, you. But you know, it's hard. It's hard to get players, especially if you're not running D&D. D&D. Look, again, I learned to read with D&D. The love in my heart for D&D is, Jesus Christ, I spent all morning making this happen. Okay? Like, the love in my heart for D&D runs deep. But it's not what I want to be. It's not what I want to do. I don't want to run D&D, right? That's not what I want to do as a career. I don't want to be a professional DM. I want to be a professional GM. I want to run more different types of games. And so if you look at my profile right now, the only two games that I'm offering are like God Machine Chronicle, like World of Darkness stuff. And I would love, oh my God, I want to run those games so bad. I just need players. But anyway, once DC 20 0.9 comes out, and now there's a little bit more advancement that you can get to level 4. Now there's these subclasses and stuff. I'm going to look at those rules. I think I'm going to spend some time looking at the rules here. And I won't have the physical ones, of course. I spent so much money on that Kickstarter, but whatever. I will not see anything from that for years to come, right? But all the digital stuff, right, I have access to. So I think once 0.9 comes out, that's probably going to be the focus of the stream for a little while. I really want to do a deep dive on those rules, get to know them. But anyway, digression. And yes, PB, exactly. D&D is real hard to move the masses from. And look, I get it. Like, I understand that sort of knee-jerk reaction from many of them when we say, just please play something else. And they're like, oh, don't yuck my fun. You know, like, I like D&D. Why should I play something else? Look, I get it, right? Especially D&D is a complicated game. But there's so many other games. There's so much other good stuff. You're missing out, and the insistence from so many people is go like, oh well, if I just want to keep playing D&D, and if I want to do space D&D, then I'll just use D&D system, but adapt it to the setting. It's like, but there are so many games that are designed for different settings. D&D is what it is. It doesn't. The system behind D&D is not really that good. It doesn't elevate other genres that it's in on necessarily, right? It doesn't need necessarily fantasy. It just is what it is, right? But yeah, point is, I want to do DC 20. DC 20 is where I'm feeling, hopefully, right? We'll see if it'll live up to my expectations, because I backed it and then I haven't really looked at it, because in my mind I just placed this mental block on myself to go like, nah, until 0.9 comes out, I'm going to be very happy that it exists, but I'm not going to pay too much attention to it. I don't know why I decided that in my head, but now it is an irrevocable decision. So we'll get to that. Point that I'm getting to is that the creator of that Dungeon Commander, he has this philosophy. I've seen a couple of streams where he talks about, as he's been working on this game. In Dungeon Commander, yeah, it's DC 20, exactly. In Dungeon Commander, he has spoken a few times about sort of his design philosophy for the various character classes. And he talks a lot about what he calls the character fantasy, or the class fantasy rather, right? Like, when you are playing a monk, there is this class fantasy of being super agile, of moving super fast, doing like these crouching tiger, hidden dragon types of moves, of doing like chi blasts and whatnot. If you're playing a wizard, then there is this class fantasy of powerful, flashy spells, spell clashes and contests, all sorts of weird mystical things, creating glyphs on the ground, whatnot. And so his approach to creating these characters, rather these classes, is very much like that. He wants to fulfill that class fantasy for you. When you choose a class, you should be able to do and achieve the cool things that the class lets you fantasize about. You want to fulfill that class fantasy. And I've even tried to take that approach on my own game, Seeker's Call, when I'm creating the various callings, which are the character classes in that game. The question at the back of my head always is like, how does this fit into the class? What is the class fantasy, or in the case of that game, the calling fantasy? Like, what is the main sort of like, oh, cool, like fantastic imaginary image that makes you go like, yeah, that's cool, I want to play that, for each class. And then do the abilities, powers, whatever that I'm giving that character class fit that fantasy and enable that fantasy? Because if they don't, then they probably, there's a good chance they don't belong there, or they're just not as fun. If they're not feeding into the class fantasy of that class, then they really probably shouldn't be there. And so bringing it all the way back here, right? There is some of that, but I'm just back at this, like the fact that everybody has to achieve this, and it is dependent on somebody being kind of, I don't know. This is something that I, as a GM, would probably struggle with a little. I think my approach would be like, so if I had a player, right, and they're more of a shy player, then there is the part of it that's just like, well, that's on me, right? That's on me as the storyteller to kind of note those moments of awesome, even for a player rather that's not quite as emotive, maybe, I guess. But yeah, it is weird, because at some point it's like, whose responsibility is it to keep track? Because keep in mind, we are playing a game, we are having fun, but there are parts of the process of the game that are not necessarily fun, that they're just basically bookkeeping, which becomes necessary, right, to play the game as intended. This is bookkeeping. It feels like unnecessary work. Exactly, it's bookkeeping either for the GM or for the player. Somebody's got to keep track of this. And it's probably going to fall on the GM. And so at that point, then now as GM, besides answering questions, playing NPCs, keeping the story moving forward, doing all the other stuff that a GM has to do, like making sure that each player has had their moment, making sure nobody's ignored, making sure everybody's having fun, checking in with people, making sure that you are, meeting their expectations, and letting them explore the things they want to explore, etc., etc. And on top of all that, now I also have to kind of, everything they do kind of go in my mind, does that count as reaching a personal milestone for that character? When it kind of should be on the player, I think. But also then now that's a pressure on the players. It's like, well, I gotta make sure I meet a milestone every game so that we can all get this, right? If a single one of us doesn't meet a milestone, even though everybody else does, and none of us got this, and look, humans are humans, right? Humans are gonna human. There will be resentment from other players, even though, yes, it is just a game, yada, yada, yada. But I can see this leading to trouble at the table. I don't like it. Don't like it. I would almost house rule this more as a because it's not even like they say specifically, their goals and whatnot. Storytellers should ask characters for the goals at the start of each session to help create and earn personal milestones. I guess if you do it at the start, it's like, all right, so we're about to start. So before we get into it, What Bob, what do you want to achieve today? Dave, what do you want to achieve today? PB, what are you achieving today? Like, yeah, yeah, but I'm also getting like, morning huddle kind of vibes. Like, all right, we're all at work. All right, so what have you got on your plate today? Well, I'm doing this report and I'm sending out these emails. Okay, what are you achieving today? I'm doing some progress on this project. Cool. And let's see, let me catch up on chat real quick. It's a nice idea on paper, but when, as discussed before, it's already difficult to get a group together to play anything but D&D or the tabletop RPG. Exactly, and adding more restrictive rules on play wouldn't be conductive. Exactly. Like, I get what they're going for here, but I would probably need to house rule the fuck out of this, or make it a lot more permissive, or something along those lines to avoid potential chaos at the table. But, all right, let's now Exalt milestones are earned identically but are tracked separately, and the goal is defined by the character's cast or aspect. A minor milestone is completing a single adventure or story chapter, like discovering a Death Lord has been spying on the Circle. This is a significant story beat, but not the end of the story itself. A minor milestone should happen roughly every 3 sessions of play. Minor milestones drive character advancement. Storytellers should be certain they are regularly handing out minor milestones. Groups that prefer a faster progression may hand out minor milestones every other session. A major milestone furthers narrative progression, like completing a greater story arc or battling the Daycast who infiltrated Forks at the Death Lord's behest. This is the end of the story. When the minor and major milestones are earned, all players gain the benefits. So kind of like the same thing. Like if it works for your group, awesome, but I don't see this being a general group that furthers... Yeah, exactly. Like I don't... Advancement has always been kind of like one of my least favorite parts about systems based around like sort of the storyteller system. I was never a fan of the old World of Darkness stuff, and it was weird because... And I'm dating myself a little here, but I mean, look at this beard. I'm not exactly fooling anyone to think I'm in my 20s. I used to play a lot on online, like Muds, Mushes, Moons, and a lot of those, there was just a lot of World of Darkness. This was the late 90s, so it was the early 2000s, it was even the 2010s. World of Darkness was kind of the thing for a lot of, especially for those types of text-based games, because World of Darkness lent itself much better to that than something like D&D. I mean, there were still like mods and stuff that do D&D, but at that point, it's like, yeah, it's just automated. You're just playing an RPG. You're playing a computer RPG. You're moving a little stick figure around, and you are attacking a monster, and dice are being rolled and damages are being calculated. And, it's all automated. You're playing a video game at that point. You're playing a multiplayer video game. It says World of Warcraft rather came in, gave it graphics, and that was the end of Muds, right? But Mushes and their ilk were more like roleplay heavy. It was more about describing the angst that your vampire was feeling while, hitting on a changeling at the local coffee shop, because let's face it, it was mostly a lot of coffee shop roleplay with werewolves hitting on mages and, Sabat making out with fucking Get a Fenris, because bushes were silly places. But I played lots of World of Darkness on bushes, and I played lots of World of Darkness at tabletop, and the progression and advancement system in both cases was terrible, because tabletop, if followed as written, right, rules as written, was very similar to this. Very much like, oh, how you achieve this and that, and did your players achieve this, and how do you... It's a very vibes-based advancement, but there were specific XP numbers, right? Things had specific XP costs, and those costs would go up exponentially as you went on. So like a level, a certain ability might cost 5 XP per level. So that's a ridiculously high number, but just for an example's sake, because I'm kind of blanking on the specific cost right now, but like, let's say you had an ability, level 1 costs 5. That means level 2 costs 10, level 3 costs 15, level 4 costs 20, and so forth. So the cost would start ballooning up because level 5, higher level abilities tended to be, not always, but tended to be in World of Darkness, substantially more powerful than in the previous levels, right? There was a pretty big escalation in power from a level 1 power to a level 5 power or ability or Numina or discipline or whatever it is called for your particular splat. And in tabletop, you're supposed to get, like, even if you're playing like weekly, right? You're maybe getting anywhere from 4 to 8 XP per month for like a weekly game. That's probably like 3 to 4 hours per game. So we're talking like, 12 hours minimum, 12 to 16 hours of gaming. And for that, you get anywhere from 4 to 8 XP on average. My experience anyway for tabletop. And that's being generous. Sometimes tabletop would just go on and no XP happens. Which meant that if I wanted to buy a really high level character, I had to be playing for months and months and months, which fine, right? Especially some of these characters, you're supposed to take your time, right? And it can be tricky, but it felt like very slow progression. Meanwhile, Muds and Mushes, they couldn't really, because they were so freeform, like there wasn't a GM constantly there. You could just have 2 players with no GM and you're just probably flirting in a coffee shop. So long as it doesn't require any rolls, then go ahead, right? Hey, Phoenix, no worries. Welcome in, welcome in. Hi. Hope you're having a good Thanksgiving. I know if you can't stay because Thanksgiving, don't worry. But also, hey, check this out. Look at this. I've got like virtual dice I can roll. Is that not cool? Are these? I love these, and they look kind of like they're real on this one. And no worries, busy today. Hey, I hope your day chills out, my friend. Always absolutely thrilled to have you here with us. But yeah. So point is, in those games, they couldn't do milestone because it is very much as freeform role play at all times. So while some games may have had overarching plots and scenes that were played out with GMs running and whatnot, but for the most part, it was very much as free-form roleplay, which means stuff like this, milestones, wasn't going to work, but people still wanted to advance. So the system that most of those games ended up using was basically votes. So you would roleplay with someone. Let's say I'm roleplaying with Phoenix, and after the scene, after we play, I go, hey, that was a good time. I'll see you around next time. And then I would type plus vote Phoenix. Phoenix Scientist, or whatever the name of his character was, and they would get a vote. And then those votes, each game usually had a formula for translating X amount of votes, like usually something like 10 votes equals 1 XP. That turned XP gathering. There was literally farming happening. Like there was, first of all, people who were just super gregarious and who would just show up like, you made a new character. Okay, I'm new in town. I guess I go to the coffee shop because I checked and that's where everybody is. So I'm going to the coffee shop, right? And these people would just descend on you. Like, you're new, cool, we are playing now. Which, fine, that's kind of the whole point. That's what you're there for. But they would just play with you just to get the votes. And if there were big scenes of like 10, 20 people like in a scene, which usually devolved into immediate and utter chaos, but as soon as the scene got past, if it was public, if people just show up, everybody would show up, even if they had no business being there, for the XP. Everybody would show up to farm XP. It's like, I'm just here, what are you doing? I'm just typing like, Bob A. Bissell stands in a corner and nurses his coffee. And then I just type the same thing every few minutes so I'm active. And I'm farming XP, because then people will go like plus vote here, and that would just give a vote to everybody in the room. That added up, next thing you know, you've got people who played the game for like 3 weeks, and they're walking around with like multiple level 5 disciplines, and it was silly. It was absolutely silly, because World of Darkness is not good at advancement. It really isn't in any way, shape, or form that I've ever seen it. Not good at advancement, and unfortunately what I'm seeing here still kind of fits that same vibe. It's not the best advancement. Hey bot, oh, that was me. Oh, I hit a button by mistake. Anyway, the button I really need to hit though is the be right back button, because it's ad time, so you know how it is. We'll be right back. All right, ads are done, and that means I'm back. All right, folks. So point is, after all that, is that XP and advancement, my opinion, has always been bad. It's one big Achilles heel that the storyteller system kind of has, I think, and this seems to be living up to that. So you've got these again. All the milestones are group based. Either you have a table and everybody's good, right? And you as a GM are doing your job, or you have a table where one or more people are not meeting their goals. And look, tabletop RPGs, yes, characters should have goals. That's part of it. Most games have a something where you set like your character's intention. I will admit there is an old school grumpy part of me that that rebels a little against that, against having to like define your character's like motivations and specific goals and stuff, and sort of set them up for stuff like this, for advancement. Because, and look, this is gonna come off dickish. It's not meant to be, but it is gonna come off a little dickish, and it is like I've never needed the game to force me or make me write down some character motivations to play a motivated character, right? I always felt like, yeah, of course, like my character's a quote unquote real person within the world. They exist. They have motivations. They have things they want to achieve, and that's part of it, right? And hey, Sorka's over on YouTube. I just saw your subscription come in live, so thanks so much for that. I had been hoping that my little alert thing would also kick off when somebody subscribes on YouTube, but apparently it does not. Apparently it does not. Actually, no, you know what? I think because I haven't set it up. I set it up for Twitch. I don't think I've been able to set it up for YouTube, yes, because I think it has to search for a different signal. So yeah, it wouldn't have triggered. So apologies for that, but you know what? I will, can I manually kick that off? Actually, you know what, Sorkus, if you are watching this, I'm going to try something for you. It might actually work. Who knows? Let's find out. Where is, let me open up the deck and then connect. And then go here, and can I do that? Did it do the thing? Well, no, okay, that's the wrong follower. I don't know if it's, let me try that one more time, because I think it picks up the wrong one. I'm trying. Let's see here. Nope, it's just gonna be the same person. Never mind, fail for me, not for Graham. Anyway, look, new follower on YouTube. Thank you. I someday I will fix the part of my stream that does the things. Today is not that day, but you do get a personal thank you from me. Back to it. All right. So again, you might have a couple of people in your group that they're not doing the thing. This feels like work. This feels like, okay, we're going to play today, and I need to achieve this thing today, or else we don't get paid. Right? This feels like work. Role-playing shouldn't feel like work. This is a game that we're playing, so I don't like this. I don't like this system here that we're being shown, and because of that, I'm gonna just kind of move on ahead from it. Chat, feel free to convince me that this is not a bad system, that this is a good XP system, and that I should be happy about it. Please make your case, because my reaction to what I'm seeing on this page is, ew, brother, ew. All right. Especially, it's that part that's going to require me the whole party. If everybody gets it or nobody gets it, and to a point, I get that. Again, you want to avoid table drama. Like, no, you don't want that one person who's more advanced than everybody else, kind of, ruining it for everybody else. So that one person who just never advances, they never got XP, whatever. But the system as presented now, don't like it. Too many pitfalls. Just, at a certain point, it almost becomes, and I think original World of Darkness kind of had that, where there was like 1 XP that you just got for showing up, right? It was like, boom, did you show up? Did you play? Then you get an XP, right? I don't see that here because it's not XP, it's milestone based. But I would almost do this, fuck it, it's just pure pacing, right? It's pure pacing. It's gonna be on me. It's gonna be on me as the GM to pace this, to go, okay, I asked the GM, every session, I need the following thing. Not every session, but like on every session, one, I need to make sure that every character is hitting a personal milestone. So that's that. Every 2 to 3 sessions, I need to make sure that every character, every player, has hit a minor milestone so that they can all get the thing. Major milestones, further, it's completing a story arc. So again, that's on me. I gotta make sure, like, when am I getting the story arc so they can get this major milestone. And that's it, right? It said 4 types. What's the 4th type? Personal, minor, major, and Exalt. Okay, so the Exalts are the specific ones that Exalts have. Okay, cool. So that last one, I'm kind of okay leaving it to the players. It's up here. I'm kind of okay with leaving it to the players because you're the one playing that Exalt, right? So it's like, hey, make sure you should know your milestone. Try and hit it yourself. But even then, what if one player just forgets about it, doesn't do it? Now nobody gets quote unquote paid, right? Nobody gets the milestone unless everybody does it. So now either nobody gets paid, or now there's pressure on that player, even out of character, to, hey, you know, do this, find what your Exalt type needs to do for the milestone and make sure you do it next turn. Does it matter if it actually fits into the story? If it was something like, no, but you got to do it. You got to do it because otherwise we don't get paid. I don't like that. I do not like that approach. No, sir, I don't. This is one thing that the more I think about it, the more I would either you get a personal, regardless of what happened, assuming I've got players that are just doing their thing, and assuming I as a GM am doing my thing and everybody's having fun, then the closest thing I would do to following this system as it stands now, every session, everybody gets a personal milestone. Every 2 to 3 sessions, depending on how it feels speed-wise and how often we're playing. If we're playing weekly, every 3. If we're playing bi-weekly or monthly, every 2. Minor milestone for everybody. Every, let's say, 4 to 5 sessions. And that's on me to make sure that it fits story-wise, that I'm letting them hit sort of a major milestone story beat every 5 to 6 sessions, maybe. Make sure you get a major milestone. The Exalt milestones are going to vary, I guess, from Exalt to Exalt, but like at that point, you're not really earning them. You're just filling time, and when we get to X amount of sessions, everybody's going to get a thing, which kind of defeats the purpose, right? So, yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this advancement system at all. I almost wish we could just go back to XP. I can mess around with XP more, but with this milestone system as presented, I don't think it would be a good fit for a lot of groups. Like PB said earlier, like, nice idea on paper, and if it works for your group, more power to you. But I do not care for it. Let's see, advancing in power. It's up to the table to determine how quickly they progress. That's not wrong. If you want to advance rapidly, grant here we go. Some guidelines. Grant a minor milestone. In fact, you know what? Because it's a guideline, and because I earned this, and I did spend too much time. There's your guidelines. Typical advancement. If you want to advance rapidly, grant a minor milestone every other session. Typical advancement assumes around 3 sessions, while storytellers who want the story to move more slowly should introduce minor milestones every 4. A game that plays for 2 hours every week. It may want to progress a little bit more slowly than a game that plays once a month for 8 hours. Do people okay, I'm sorry. Do people do that? I guess they do. If you only have that much time and you only play once a month, I guess you might just go like, all right, once a month we set aside a day and we're just gonna fucking be exalted for an entire day, which, okay, I guess. Seems exhausting to me. I can't inhabit a character for more than like 4 hours. The other characters in my head start getting antsy. All right. Okay, so the flow of the game is not so easily delineated, such as play by post. You may instead want to hand out advancements based on real time, monthly or weekly basis. At which point, that's what I was saying. Just hand them out when the clock runs out. Doesn't matter. They're not earned. They're just given when you meet a certain amount of time. Which again, then defeats kind of the point. I don't know, man. I don't know. This feels weird. To be fair, I have not played Exalted Essence. I have not been in an Exalted Essence campaign. Maybe this works incredibly well for the pacing expected. Instinctively, though, I am rebelling against this. I don't like it. Blah blah blah. There are a few ways you can choose to. Okay, advancement earns new points and attributes and abilities, new charms, new merits. These increases don't spontaneously generate from the player character, but also don't require training times or a few ways. Yeah. Oh my god, that's another thing. The training times. Like it's a game and it's annoying, but it's like sometimes like, oh yeah. I mean, it also you have a certain level of realism, right? So it's not like you don't learn a language in 2 weeks, even if you got the XP for it, right? But usually what I would just say is like, sure, you can kind of like, we're just telling a story. Your character is not 24/7 here. If there has been in-game enough time, just tell me, oh yeah, in my spare time, I've been hitting the Duolingo. And now I forgot Spanish 1. Sure, cool. I'll let you have it now. Like, I'm not going to make you like spend the XP and then wait X amount of weeks after in character, right? So, I mean, there are levels of flexibility. It's not a problem only for this game. It's just in general, like character advancement is always tricky. Because there is a level of real world, like, yeah, things take time to learn. You know, again, not everyone can be like me and just spring forth unbidden with all the knowledge and wisdom of the world. Most of us need to take time and learn things. So, but at the same time, game for fun win. That's game design philosophy. Game fun for win. Write that down, please. Advancement templates. You may not want to start with beginning characters. You want to jump straight in a higher essence. We've listed a good distribution. Okay, so that's actually, this part I do like. This part I do like because it lets me skip the rest of it. Basically, if you want to start at higher levels of essence, here's the things you need to like be at that sort of power level. I like that, especially because a lot of games, like, it's a hard balancing act because and D&D suffers from this, and some games suffer from this. Not all games. This game I don't think suffers from this that much, because you still feel fairly capable at character creation. But I've seen a lot of games, and sometimes D&D can fall into this. There's a reason why a lot of people start new D&D games at level 3, right? You just get XP to level 3, and then you move on from there. Because level 3 is where the good stuff kicks in. It's where the fun kicks in. Up until that point, you're kind of just a generic dude with sword, you know, wizard with spell kind of thing. And starting level characters are often very helpless, very weak. And honestly, at least in my opinion, depends on the game. Depends on the game, as always. All caveat. But in my opinion, not that much fun to play, right? And so it's nice to have, especially if you're already familiar with the game, be able to just start at a higher level. And sometimes, especially with how much time it can take to earn XP for higher levels. So it's like, you know what, let's start an Essence 4 campaign. Let's start at higher levels. Let's get a taste for that. And I like that it's giving you some guidance for that, right? As opposed to just, nah, man, figure it out. So this is fine. I like this. Good times. Choosing also, I like this guidance that they give you here. And in fact, had I seen this before when I was making my character, I might have just followed one of these sort of pre-made, not pre-made. It's almost like a character, like a pack basically, that you get to pick from. But like, if you want to play a kindly healer, a savant, a priest, a fearless leader, whatever, and they give you, okay, so if you want to play a priest, priest archetypes like righteous demagogue, fearless leader, kindly healer, savant, and they give you different examples of like, all right, so a midnight abyssal with the ghost emperor edict, or an infernal ascendant with the devil emperor edict, or a Gatimian summer with the sleeper guiding whisper. Like, these are, you know, charms that fit a righteous demagogue. Like, they give you different examples of how you can achieve certain sort of character concepts and archetypes with different, like, see, dawn, full moon, or like dragon blooded, lunar, solar, like with different types of exalted. I really like this because it shows you that, hey, the type of exalted that you're going to play is not necessarily going to dictate that you only, like, if you're playing a dragon blooded, doesn't mean that you have to be a fighty dragon blooded, right? There are many types of dragon blooded that can be played that fit specific sort of charms, specific archetypes within a character. I like that they presented this very well. I always love some trickster archetypes. So well done on that. After spending so much time bashing the advancement system, we just spent very little time saying that this is in fact cool. That gets a wow. I do very much like what's happening there. Finally, we're getting to the systems, which is the whole reason that we started. What time even is it? We're an hour and a half. We're literally the smack dab middle of today's stream, and we finally hit the topic that I wanted to talk about today, which is the actual system. And hopefully we might even get to combat today. Who knows? Excited to see where things lead. So folks, let's see here. The core rules, basic system. To play, you need a whole bunch of 10-sided dice, or D10s, right? So we got that. We got a. Can I do multiple? Let's see. How's this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Can we have 10 at once? Let's see. There they go. So that's not the worst roll. There they go. They're disappearing. What I'm gonna need to do at some point later is have some kind of counter, so I can have like the results sort of tabulated rather than just have it physical, semi-physical dice. But yeah, you need that many D10s. Cool, that's fine. We know this. You pull the D10s, attribute possibility with any other relevant modifier. 7, 8, and 9s count as 1 success. 10s count as 2 successes. I love that. Double 10s. So they don't explode, but they do. They just count double. Which I love. Sorry, for a second there, I thought I saw the ad alert come up, and that's not right. Okay, building the pool, kind of doubling up. Blah, blah. Characters might have multiple effects that call for double 9s or double 8s, etc. When there's overlap of 2 or more identical doubling effects, if they double the next number down. So if a character has 2 double 9s effects on her social action, then she treats the applicable rules as though she had double 8s. This stops at double 7s. Okay, cool. Nice. All right, let's see here. So what do we got? Okay, action types. This is cool. This is good to know. Reflexive action, something that requires no conscious effort, such as noticing oncoming danger or making idle banter during battle. Reflective actions do not count toward the total number of things a character can do during her turn. Cool. So those are just like, you know, kindness is a reflexive action, basically. Simple. Simple action is something that does require thought and effort. It takes up a character's whole action unless it is part of a flurry. Making an attack is always simple, but a simple action might also be studying ancient glyphs on a ruin or convincing a bloodthirsty foe to stand down. Sometimes charms or other effects will know that something requires an action. This is the same as a simple action. Cool. Pretty straightforward. So flurries, this is the multi-action. Flurries allow a character to take 2 simple actions. They must be 2 different actions, so it cannot be 2 attacks, even if generated from actions such as a rush, or 2 attempts to talk down a foe. But it can be an attack and an attempt at intimidation. When your character makes a flurry, reduce both pools by 3 dice. A flurry with a rolled and unrolled action penalizes the rolled action. If an effect creates a flurried action, apply the penalty to the created action's roll. This penalty cannot be reduced or ignored unless an effect specifically states so. A character can only take 2 simple actions per combat round. This includes simple actions taken in response to things like counterattacks, unless they have. Okay, so page 184, we'll have to look at that in combat. Unless they have a specific restriction or generate a simple action, typically by charm use, reflexive actions do not count towards this limit. So basically, let's take a look at my at the character. Let's take a look at that character sheet. So if I have my character here, we've got Bob, and I want to do two things in one round, right? I want to do two actions. I want to punch. I want to use close combat, punch somebody in the face, and I want to, while I'm doing that, decipher the inscription in the statue that he's behind. Do it all quickly because lava is flowing into the room. There's stuff going on. All right, I'm having a very stressful moment, and I need to do these things. I don't have time for two actions, so I roll for both. Right, according to what we saw here. We roll for both, but each one gets a -3 dice penalty. So the first thing I do is punch, and that's going to be force plus close combat, right? So that's 5 dice, but I remove 3, so I only roll 2 dice, right? So I roll 2 d10s. Let's see, so that's 1, 2. That's a whiff and a miss. None of those is even close to a hit. 5 and a 2. So punch goes wild. But while I'm punching, and maybe the reason I miss is because I'm looking at those carvings, and that is going to be finesse. I'm guessing, yeah, finesse plus sagacity. So that's 5, 6, 7 -3. That's 4. So we roll 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, I suck. Not a single 8. Okay, so flurries are there. And you're gonna suck at them, because even with a relatively good, like, sagacity is my 5 dice pool plus finesse is my lowest one, to be fair, but there was no way I was rolling sagacity plus fortitude on that roll. I can't convince myself of that. But okay, cool. So that did not go well for Bob, but now we have the process down. It's actually surprisingly straightforward. I think it used to be like you only did one roll, and you basically would roll using if you had whichever 2 dice pools you had to roll using the lowest one, and then on top of that dice pool then got split. Was it like that? Yeah, I think so. If you had, for example, the old rules would have been like, I would have had these 2 dice pools, one that was 7 and one that was 5, and I would have first had to choose the lowest one, so I chosen the 5 dice pool. And then I would have had to split those dice between my 2 actions, which is almost exactly what ended up happening. I ended up with 1 more dice on the big roll, but that's just pure coincidence on this case. But that was the system before. You compare the 2 dice pools, you had one that was lower, and then you split the lower one. Now, you still do 2 actions, but both actions are penalized at a -3. And if one of them doesn't have a roll, still the other one with the roll still gets penalized at -3. Straightforward. Cool. Difference of how it was done before. Superior? Yes. It feels slightly better. Feels a little more intuitive, right? Because before it was like, but why am I rolling this dice pool? Like, why is the fact that this other thing is a smaller dice pool? I mean, I kind of get it. It's like, well, because you're splitting your attention, and a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, yada, yada, yada. So you're rolling with your weakest link, right? I get it. But there's a reason I almost never split my actions in World of Darkness, because, like, unless you got really good dice pools on everything, splitting an action was almost a guaranteed fail. Now here you've got 2 rolls. Sure, both rolls are heavily penalized with -3, but you got 2 chances to succeed. Or if you're me, 2 chances to fail. So, okay. That's not the worst. I can deal with that. I can live with that. Opposed action. Okay, I'm curious about these. Let's go back to the full overhead. All right, so opposed actions. They happen when 2 or more characters contest each other. There might be 2 athletes racing or 3 debutantes trying to outdo each other at a soiree. Opposed actions have no difficulty. All parties involved make rolls as normal and compare the number of successes rolled. The character with the greatest number of successes wins. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Sometimes ties happen where both parties in an opposed roll have the same number of successes. In this case, ties favor the defender. Okay, good to know. Which means character resisting the action. For example, the guard standing watch as character sneak past this, defending against their infiltration attempts. Wait. If the tie is between two... Oh, yeah, I've forgotten about this. Right, that Solars, because they're better than you in every way, also get a special rule about that when they're in competition, right? So ties resolve in the following order: Solars, then defenders, and then non-solar player characters, because fuck you if you're not a solar. But yeah, right, I've forgotten about that ability. Solars basically, if we're evenly matched, no we're not, I'm always better than you. It's wild. It's a dick move on the Solars. Oh, yeah. Extended actions. Very little on extended actions. Oh, because they're called ventures, and they have their own section. That's why on page 151. Cover anything character attempts over a period of time. Period of time might be over several turns of combat, while a character frantically tries to disassemble an overheating traffic, blah, 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 blah. Okay, extended actions, cool. We'll look at ventures when we get to that section. And then we're going to go ahead and see what guidance the game has for setting difficulties on rolls, which is different from how difficulties are set in Old World Darkness games, right? With Old World Darkness games, your difficulty was a target number your dice needed to roll at. Here, difficulty is how many hits on a roll, how many successes on a roll you kind of need to hit before the roll is actually successful. So we're going to take a look at that, and we will very shortly, right after these messages. It goes by so quickly, doesn't it? All right, nerds, let's get back to it. Determining the difficulty. Okay, so all actions also have difficulty. Lessons to learn, words to live by. Also, ouch. This is the minimum number of successes required to achieve whatever the character was trying to do. Some tasks have a preset difficulty determined by a charm or artifact's effect. Others require the storyteller to adjudicate on the fly. Here are some guidelines for figuring out just how hard a roll should be. So difficulty 1 and difficulty 2 are beneath the Exalted. Difficulty reducers might bump difficulty down to this level, but if a storyteller decides an action requires 2 or fewer successes, then she shouldn't call for a roll at all. In rare situations, a storyteller might consider calling for a difficulty 1 or 2 roll if the Exalt has 4 or fewer dice in her pool, if the failure would be interesting. Otherwise, there's no need to make a character roll for trivial things. Given how our rolls went a minute ago, okay, I mean, they sort of say if you have like 3 or 4 dice pools, then, you know, maybe roll, because you're clearly not that good at that thing. But like, I rolled 4 dice, and got like 3 or 4 dice, 2 dice even, like very hard to get enough successes. It almost, Okay, so a normal dice roll, like if I'm rolling my that sagacity pool, right? If I'm rolling those what was it, like 5, 6, 7, like 8 dice. If I roll 8 dice, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like so far, not a single. Okay, one success, 2 successes. There we go. No, just one actually, because it's not 7. It's 8, 9, and 10. So 7 is not really a success. So all of that was just one success. If I do it again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we got a 10, so that's 2 successes. Thankfully, ones don't take away. That's an 8. That's 3 successes. 3 successes. Like, difficulty 3 is a suitable challenge for an Exalt. A difficulty 3 task might be something like stealing the keys off a belt of an alert guard, spotting the insignia of the Assassin's Guild hired to kill you and a man in the crowd, or breaking encryption with some of the cipher missing. This is a basic difficulty for all tasks in Exalted Essence. So I'm looking to hit 3 successes on any given roll by default. Okay, that feels weird because I'm so used to World of Darkness storyteller thing, which is like it does have a mechanic for like requiring additional successes, but by default 1 success is all you need, right? Like old World of Darkness still kind of had that, like, oh, 1 success is kind of marginal, like you still get it, but it's not going to give you as much, and 3 successes is more like a full success, and then 5 or more was exceptional. That's kind of like how old, so this is a little more reminiscent almost of World of Darkness in the sense, but it's like formalized, whereas before it was like kind of like wishy-washy. And then storytellers like New World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness and stuff kind of went all in on like you just need 1 success. Like we're not going to, while there are things that might require more, they are few and far between for the most part. You're just trying to get the 1 success, and the main way to increase difficulty and stuff is just to take dice away from you, right? Give you penalties, give you stuff, and there might be some stuff that makes it so so dice only, succeed on a 9 or a 10 or whatever instead of an 8. But at the end of the day, you still needed just the 1 success. And like my own system is kind of like that, right? It's all about adding or removing dice from a pool, but then once you finally roll the pool, you just need the 1 success to achieve your thing. Any extra ones can be used for extra stuff, but they're usually not required. Here, it does seem to be making it, and then they've got like these super high difficulties. Like I get that that our character is supposed to be powerful, right? But even if I was somehow rolling sagacity plus fortitude, which is like I'm spending all night, right? That's how I'm justifying the fortitude. I'm spending all night, no sleep, doing research, right? So that's 9 dice. So if I have 9 dice, which is a very good dice pool, it's pretty much near the top of what I can do, right? So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's see what we got. Okay, so we got 2 successes, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, never mind. Jesus Christ. The dice have no respect for me. These dice have no, I'm trying to make a point here. I'm trying to make a goddamn point here, and the dice give me 10 successes, which would have beaten a difficulty 10 roll. Okay, that actually would have been an epic. Okay, I gotta give it to the game. That actually would have been a perfect sort of just epic moment. I mean, kind of research is always gonna be so, but if the GM had told me, hey Dan, hey, I know you're researching this hidden cult, but I'm gonna, there's almost no information on them, so this is gonna be a difficulty 10 roll to get any kind of information on this. And I'm like, you know what, GM? That's what Bob does. Bob researches. Bob has sagacity 5. Bob has fortitude 4. Bob will be up all night. He's gonna find whatever is in here about that cult. And then I make that roll, and I count out those 10 successes, and I tell my storyteller to go fuck himself, because it's gonna feel so good. Yeah, okay, fine, game. I was trying to talk shit to you about like maybe requiring too much, but I see now with how the tens do, and the fact that ones don't take away successes. Look, I'm scarred. I am scarred by the games that I played with friend of the stream Prax a few weeks ago. Those old school World of Darkness ones where the ones take away. I'm scarred by those. This is fine. This is fine. Okay, fine. Difficulty 5, challenging. Difficulty 7, pushes the limits. Difficulty 10, most of the time will not be achievable without charms, and yet. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind, right? That these are just bare stats. Your characters will have charms and abilities and stuff that are going to make them superhuman and super powerful and stuff. So once you take that into account, sure, you're probably rolling bigger dice pools, and this is going to be a little bit more manageable. So fine. Take. You know what? No major complaints. Still many complaints about all this that's happening here. Many complaints about this. No complaints here. This is fine. This is normal. Margins of success. Let's see what this is all about. There we go. Sometimes a character barely misses the success requirement. Missing by 1 feels terrible, trust me. Treat every 2 successes as a margin of success. If a character misses the difficulty by 1 or 2, the storyteller should provide necessary information or context to proceed, but the outcome isn't what they'd hoped for. Okay, so I like that, and it's not. It's shown kind of on its own little box here, which makes it feel like it's optional, but it's not presented as an optional rule. It's an official rule. In regards, storytellers may provide additionally useful details to characters that are a number of margins of success above the stated difficulty. Which is cool. So if you get extra ones, you get more stuff. But it's fine. It's pretty straightforward. I do like that there is a sort of a way to integrate failing forward into that. So I appreciate that. Okay, never mind. I keep looking and thinking that I'm getting weird alerts, but I'm not. Anyway, success and failure, meaning receiving the difficulty constitutes success. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, botches. So there is a way to botch. Botches occur when no dice show successes and 1 or more dice show ones. Okay, so ones don't take away, but they will let you botch if you get no other successes. Which means I think that other roll that I did that was like 4 dice that I expected at least 1 hit on, I think that one was a botch. I think I got a 1 on one of those die and 0 successes. So botches, bear in mind, the failure should be dramatic. Bear in mind the existing rules for failure. They should never prevent the story from progressing. Good. And should never humiliate or embarrass the character. I mean, yes, of course not. But also, among friends, I'm gonna point and laugh. I'm gonna point and laugh at you. I love you, friends. This is why we're friends. Even in utter failure, the Exalted are heroes. Yes, I know. But you're my friend, and I'm gonna point and laugh. Instead, offer a hard choice, an entirely unexpected outcome. Use up a resource, put the character in difficult. Okay, this is good. This is good advice. This is good. I have no problem with this. I'm still gonna make fun of my friends, but that's good advice. Bonuses and penalties. Okay, so this is some guidance on how to assign anything that positively impacts the dice pool is called the bonus. Anything negatively impacts is called the penalty. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Here's some examples of penalties and bonuses. Those are solid. Nothing crazy. When to assign a bonus or penalties. Exalted characters have access to incredible power via their charms. So I wouldn't need to worry about equipment or the environment. Blah, blah, blah. Bonus exists for stuff. Yeah, exactly. Teamwork. Okay. So you all narratively must be there. Cool. When assisting a teammate, choose which ability you think is most appropriate to help with. Often this will be the same ability the character is in need of help with rolling, but it doesn't have to be. Character with high physique may offer to lift and carry materials for a character using the craft building venture, or a character with presence might pitch in to help in with another character's embassy role. Blah, blah, blah. Characters should be narratively able to help. Okay, regardless of how you assist, when making a teamwork roll, the reflection, there we go. Roll your applicable pool of the default difficulty. Any extra successes you achieve are added as a dice bonus to the assisted player's roll. Okay. So let's say we've got, let's go back again as always to the split. So we got Bob here, right? And he's trying to lift some rocks. So he's gonna roll force plus athletics, and he's got 5 dice on that. his friend, Fred, who has the same stats for simplicity, right? Fred says, hey, buddy, I'm going to help you move that rock. And he's going to roll the same thing. He's not going to use different stats. He's not going to charm the rock at the moving. He's going to also just put in his force and athletics, and he's got the same stats as Bob. Fred and Bob might be twins. So first, Fred rolls, according to this, right, his whole dice pool, not just the attribute. No, sorry, not just the ability. No, it looks like it's just the attribute. It's just the fist. It's just the attribute. The ability. Now, which ability you think will be? So abilities are these, but then it's talking about. Oh no, I guess presence. Yeah, I keep getting confused. I keep thinking presence is an attribute, not an ability. So it's an ability. So the other character with only 2 dice in athletics as well tries to help. So he's not going to be much help. He's going to roll his 2d10s, right? And got 2 6s. He did nothing for me. And then I'm rolling my 5d10 to see if anything. But had he rolled, so let's have him. Let's have Fred roll another 2 dice, just because he you don't. That's 1. Oh boy, that's 2. Jesus Christ, Fred! But why are you even at this party? Why are you trying? You shouldn't be helping. You've only got an athletics of 2. Why are you trying to help? But yeah, according to this, that's it. You only roll the skill. You don't roll the attribute. Right? Double checking. Options will be the same ability. Yeah, because it's only talking about rolling ability. It's not about a full dice pool, just the ability. So if you want to help somebody else, you better have a decent amount of the ability. Because again, poor Fred, one more time. Oh, hey, there he goes. Look at that. Fred gave me 2. So now those 2 successes are what? Any successes you achieve are added as a dice bonus. So it's not automatic success, it's just extra dice. If you meet the difficulty, add 1 die. Failure simply adds nothing. These dice do not count towards the dice limit below. Oh, wait, at the default difficulty. So if this roll was a default difficulty of 3, oh no. Again, they're kind of expecting you to be using charms and all sorts of stuff to make yourself more powerful. But otherwise, even those 2 successes meant nothing. He would have had to get. That's not happening. That's not happening. He would have had to gotten 3 successes, 3 hits, and that would have allowed him to add 1 die to Bob's pool. Because he just met the difficulty. Extra successes would have been more dice, but just hitting it just means 1 die. Again, I'm probably just severely underestimating, because, you know, I'm looking at starting level characters and whatnot, and I haven't looked at the specifics of the various charms. But it you know, I'm getting a little bit of sticker shock on the expectations of how many successes people are supposed to get, especially in a game that prides itself on, you know, letting your characters shine. It says like, hey, you are heroes, you know, you do not embarrass them on a botch because they're heroes, yada yada yada, which feels a little weird, because then you're requiring all this, right? But I suspect it's just that I am severely underestimating just how many dice. Again, chat, let me know if I'm wrong. I may be severely underestimating how many dice you actually get to roll. There is a limit, though, according to this page. Playing Exalted sometimes call for rolling fistfuls of dice. So they're trying to definitely give me that vibe that, yo, Dan, you're gonna have just fistfuls. That's right there, fistfuls of dice. So, but there are practical limits. I beg to differ. I've seen the dice buckets at cons. You, sir, have yet to meet the limit of how many dice I can roll. Any combination of bonuses cannot exceed 10 extra dice added to the pool. Reasonable, I suspect. In the case of, I don't think I've ever seen this. I don't think I've ever seen this addressed in any other sort of game that uses a similar World of Darkness style pool system, because this is not normally an issue. You don't normally get that many dice to add. If an effect would transform dice into successes, these count towards the success limit. Okay, so that's dice limit. What's the success limit? Something uses static values as soak or defense treat as though they were added successes. Therefore, anything that increases the static value above its base value cannot increase it above a margin of 5. All right, all right. Penalties follow the same rule, but in reverse, dice pool cannot be reduced by more than 10 dice or 5 successes. Appreciate that. Since an effect will tell you to set a value to another value, for example, set soak equal to finesse, blah, 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 okay. If an effect adds dice successes for a repeatable duration, does not stack with itself unless it says otherwise. Makes sense. And of course, anything that breaks limits will say so in the text. Cool, cool, cool. Measuring time. Okay, so hours, turns, scene, sessions, nothing crazy there. Attributes. Okay, so this is like going deeper into the 3 attributes and then the difficult. Oh, okay. This is actually very cool. Wait. I've just seen something interesting. And that interesting thing that I have just seen is this. So these are the stats. This is fine. This is normal. It's like if you are Force 1, you're average. Force 3, escape. Force 5, exceptional. And what it means. Some examples of play, which I really like. Consequences for rolls with Force. If you fail, I like that. That's actually very cool. That is doing that. I am very big fan of this. Honestly, this is dope. This is dope as fuck. More games need to do this. I need to do this for my games. It's going to be a lot of work, but you know, I'm doing this. But then for abilities, rather than giving you the stat because its numbers go up higher, you've got that, right? You've got the stats and what it means to be 1, 3, or 5 in that stat, but also these example difficulties for each stat, for each ability. That's really cool, because as a GM, that's guidance. That's letting me know I can look at this. If you're making an awareness roll, I can look at these, and then based on what I'm actually having you roll for, this gives me a much better idea of where I should set my difficulty. This is really good. Any guidance to the GM on that, especially with concrete examples like this, fuck yeah, top notch. Absolutely love this, and they're doing it for basically every ability. That's absolutely dope. All right, now we go to stunting. What is stunting? Let's see here. Let me kind of lift this up to the camera so we can all read. There we go. Look at that. How beautiful. A staple of Exalted play, Essence rewards players for describing their action in a cool fashion. Fuck yeah. But also, again, my concerns about players that are a bit shy, blah, blah. But hey, cool. Anyway, point is, I still like this. This is how I play, right? I want you to describe your cool action. I want you to be awesome. Any cool description is a stunt. Interesting. So there's a system for this. There's no need to write flawless prose or perform perfect oratory in order to qualify for a stunt. Just put an interesting spin on how you describe what your character does to help everyone feel immersed in the action. All right? A stunt can be something like, my sword flashes and I swing it downwards and it bites into the armor of my enemy with a singing crash. Or perhaps something like, the glimmer of my anima reflects in the cathedral's windows as I stare directly into my enemy's eyes and say, you will stand down. Anything more than just declaration of intent counts as a stunt. When a player earns a stunt, they gain 2 dice they may cash in immediately to add to their roll. These bonus dice do not count towards the dice limit at their choice. They may also hold on to those dice to apply to any other roll during the same session, theirs or another player's. Stunt dice apply to the rolled action or the stunted defense and do not add to damage. Interesting. Good though. Stunt dice earned on your own action apply when you roll. Fellow players may gift you stunt dice after seeing the results of your roll in order to nudge a failure. Oh, so you can give another player your stunt dice if you haven't spent them after the results of the roll. That's really cool. You may bank as many sets of stunt dice as you choose, or a player may only benefit from 1 set of stunt dice at a time. Interesting, so little pairs of dice. Stunt dice are always a pair and cannot be split up. Whenever any text refers to stunt dice, this means a set of 2. That's cute. I like, okay. So it sounds like I should be giving out, okay, that's going to make a big difference. That's gonna make a big difference. And that's, I feel like, I mean, it is a big, like, it's a couple of pages, and I guess it keeps going for a little bit here on top. But this is cool. This I like. Because, okay, so actually no, it's a lot less. This is actually a little glossary. A lot of system terms. Never mind. This has nothing to do with stunting. It's just this, and this little bit up here. But it sounds like restore spent point of power or gain a point of will. Can I choose to add dice or roll and select? Oh, okay. So you can use stunt dice and cash them in for other stuff besides just this dice. So restore resources. So restore a spent point of power or gain a point of will. In non-combat scene, characters can also choose to gain a point of anima. Choosing to restore resources can make stunting feel like a requirement. So be aware when taking this option. Or dramatic edit. Allow characters to slightly modify the scenes, declare items for people who were not initially present, or shift the flow of the action within reason. It's often part of the stunt's description. Cashing in stunt dice for this benefit would mean something impactful happens. An ally arrives in time to aid the circle. Learn up instant training. Those characters to instantly learn a charm requiring any merit within reason. Characters only benefit from instant training once per session. The character uses the milestone immediately. All stunt dice go away at the end of the session, so use them or lose. Okay, this I actually read like that. That's actually very cool. That's gonna get a full wow from me. There we go. All of this, the stunt. I mean, there's a lot less. I would have liked to see some kind of official guidance from the book telling me explicitly, like, hand this shit out like candy, because that seems to be the intention with stunting. It seems to be like, did you describe did that sound cool? Have some stunt dice. You can use them now. You can save them for later. You can cash them in. Whatever. It is a little bit like, it's this game's almost equivalent of like something like fate points, or I guess in something like Numenera or Cipher systems. Kind of like the more classic giving an XP there, because XP in those games, in addition for advancement, is also like an in-game resource that you kind of use. So this is kind of like that. It's going to, this I would use. This I would use the hell out of because I would just be giving stunt again. If my players are having fun, like almost more than just like, oh, did you give me a cool description? It's more like, if I see you kind of smiling and getting into it as you tell me what your character is doing, I'm gonna give you stunts. I'm gonna give you stunt dice. That's how I would approach this. So that's pretty cool. That's very cool. I like that. Holy shit, a whole social influence system, just as we are narrowing in on the next set of ads, which is not going to be right yet. It's going to be very soon, just a few more minutes. So let's take a very quick look at the social influence system. This is interesting. I usually am very hesitant about the social systems in games, because I've had bad experiences. Let's just say I've had bad experiences with folks trying to use social influence game mechanics to make things happen outside of game, for lack of a better term. I don't want to get into it, but point is, I've been burned. I don't like it. And in our hobby, where there are a lot of people that tend to be shy, tend to be a little bit more low-key, can be a little bit more what's the word? Vulnerable to certain types of manipulation. Let's just say that I have seen, not at tables that I run, but definitely at tables where I've played, where a player or even a GM has abused in-game social mechanics in such a way that somebody who doesn't, who out of character in person, doesn't have the strength of will, or is just too shy, or just too nervous, or it's their first time playing, or maybe they're just afraid of the people that are there, whatever. Point is, I've seen people put up with some shit and actively feel forced to participate in scenes and such that they were very much not comfortable with in real life, because, well, the dice said that your character is now horny for mine, basically. Which is why I tend to have such a strong reaction when I see relationship mechanics in a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games, right? Because a lot of these mechanics tend to be like, I roll dice, your character is now in love with mine. Or at least that's how they feel, and then, oh boy, that bugs me. It's just not, I do not like it. Do not like it, Sam. I am. And so that, please keep that in mind. That is my, just from my own experience, that is my mindset. Whenever I'm approaching social mechanics in a game, I come at them from a very defensive, very cynical sort of point of view because of my lived experience. That said, I also try to give it as much of a benefit of the doubt as possible, but I'm definitely looking at these mechanics every time I do, and this is just disclaimer, I do kind of look at them from a sort of bad faith angle. Like, I am looking at, like, how can these rules be used to potentially abuse or manipulate somebody outside of the game. And I look at them that way because I've seen that happen often enough that it has left a very bad taste in my mouth regarding the use of social influence, social combat, social control, mental control kind of things and themes and topics in games. All that said, a good session zero probably eliminates most of those. Talk to your players, use safety tools, do session zero, right? The tables where I've seen stuff like this be used for evil, without exception, have all been tables where safety tools did not exist, session zero was not followed, etc., etc., etc. So keep that in mind. The safety and content tools that exist within the hobby can definitely go a long way towards defanging some of the more problematic aspects of those kinds of mechanics. And I'm not saying Exalted has any of those problems. We're going to find out, or hopefully we will, once again, after these ads. If I can find the goddamn button that gets me to the ads. There we go. After these messages, we'll be right back. Your Honor, permission to refer to the jury as chat, please. Hey chat, how you doing? Is everybody alive? I'm assuming if anybody's still in chat, you are in a full turkey and stuffing coma, which is fine. That is why you are silent. I understand it. But also, as I said at the beginning of the stream, Thanksgiving. Like, thank you for anybody stopping by, but like, don't let me keep you. I'm just keeping myself amused, all right? After I'm done with this, I'm going to go eat something and then I'm going to play video games all night because that is who I am as a person. Please be better than me. All right, so let's take a look at these social influence rules. Now we have a solid half an hour chunk. We are entering the final hour of today's stream. I'm excited for the future when we will have longer and more streams. So much streaming, which you, dear viewer, which you can stop by hiring me. There's the link in chat. Anyway, social influence. When a character interacts with someone to get them to act in a way that she desires, she uses social influence. Social influence represents anything a character may want to do to one or more other characters, such as persuading, intimidating, coercing, seducing, commanding, or any other action to get someone to do what you want without involving direct violence. Look. Let me make a quick statement before we move forward. Because I made this whole thing about how how I approach these kind of in bad faith on purpose, right? That said, you do need some kind of social influence, but you're still going to influence NPCs and stuff, different characters with different abilities. Like, my main concern is usually about how social influence and social combat roles end up being applied to player characters. Like, how those influences can affect you as a player character, their decision. And the solution that I've seen most games that I'm okay with kind of do for that sort of stuff is that rather than giving you a direct control, they will do something like giving you a bonus to roles that fit in with the sort of control orders that you are under, and giving you a penalty to roles that oppose that control or those orders, right? And so you still have you as a player have not lost control of your character, but your character is definitely being influenced, and it's more difficult for them to do those things that are outside that influence. And I'm okay with that. So long as it, again, I get upset and I get worried when something completely removes player intention, right, from a character. So that's my concern. Outside of that, yeah, no, the social influence, like, you need these systems in a game to work with NPCs and such. So with that in mind, every Exalt has aspects of her life which are the most important to her, and personality traits that define how she engages with the world. In Exalted, these are virtues and intimacies. Virtues define what drives an Exalt and how she acts, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so your virtues. So you have, and my character, for example, my character's major virtue is ambition. And so you choose a major virtue. And why, and you determine why you have this outlook. So for example, for Bob A. Bissell, his major virtue is ambition. So the Exalt desires greatness through action. She sets goals for herself regularly and works towards overcoming them. When choosing this virtue, decide on a large-scale goal for the character, such as purge corruption from the realm or drive the guild from the southern threshold. This goal can be changed during the game when the character accomplishes a major milestone. For example, Lydia the Dragonblood's ambition is to become the leader of House Sinis, to prove her brother wrong. Cool. So this is more to get an idea of what your character, what their motivation is, defines the kinds of actions that they will take to accomplish a goal or deal with a situation. They color what they do, etc., etc. My character's secondary virtue is discipline. The character values personal restraint and dedication. She acts with precision and methodical thought, using caution to ensure victory. While cautious, she is not cowardly. That would go against her own views of dedication or devotion. She hates rash action and impulsivity. For example, Violet Sky, the Liminal's discipline, drives her to resist the advances of wicked necromancers who would turn her from her work of laying the dead to rest. Okay, so with those virtues in mind, virtues in play. So what does that do for me? And there's a little box here, changing virtues. Okay, so it's possible to change virtues. I'm going to kind of skip that for now. Let's see. Exalted are people who act in extremes. Without outside impetus, the character acts in line with her virtues. Both trivial actions made without thought and large decisions follow in line with them. She isn't incapable of acting outside of her virtues, and she might obfuscate her true intentions to manipulate her foes, but it takes outside input for her to even consider acting any other way. Use your character's virtues to help decide how to react to most situations. When hung up on an action, how to proceed during a story, or just what to say to a dynast who is asking your group for a dynast who is asking your group for assistance, look to the character's virtues for guidance. You can also use the character's virtues to help describe stunts, or influence dramatic event moments for your character. Okay, this is all cool. So this is just guidance right now. Intimacies, character's intimacies define what she cares about most in her life. Virtues define how a character has to view the world. Intimacies are concrete people, goals, or ideas the character has. Okay, so your ties, your principles. This is all good. This is all solid. Gaining new intimacies. Okay, so that's how you gain them. Intensities, so major and minor things. For example, my character has a major intensity influence, or rather, major intensity intimacy with the Bissell family, tied to his ambition, and he has minor intensity intimacies with his artifact and his cousin, both of which are tied to his minor virtue of discipline. And then okay, so now we're actually getting to so all of this said, influence action. So what happens when you actually want to influence somebody else? When one character tries to influence another, roll attribute plus ability as an influence action. The most common abilities for influence actions are embassy, performance, presence, and war, though the storyteller is the final arbiter of which ability fits which situation. Embassy generally involves formal situations and social groups, while war is primarily used for military matters and interactions. Love and loss. Intimacies are not set in stone. People grow apart, find new interests. People should feel free to upgrade or downgrade. Okay, cool. That's no problem with that. Characters have a resolve against social influence set to 2, modified by the character's intimacy, virtue, and integrity. If the character has at least 1 dot in the integrity ability, her resolve is set to 3. And if the integrity ability is 3 or higher, her resolve is 4. For antagonists who do not have integrity, set resolve to 3 if it has an appropriate secondary trait, or 4 if it has an appropriate primary trait. Okay. Character's virtues and intimacy may adjust or resolve up or down if it is relevant to a social influence action targeting her. Okay, so that explains, and let's do the split screen real quick here. So we have here with my character, you see how these virtues and intimacies right here in the middle here. So the major virtue of ambition has a plus or minus 3, and the minor virtue of discipline is a plus or minus 2. So according to this, let's see here, where's like these things. So if I was doing an influence action, right? Characters have a resolve against social influence. Blah blah. Characters' virtues and intimacy may adjust or resolve up or down if it's relevant to social influence action targeting. Okay, so let's say, because I do not have what I have is resolve. So do I have any resolve? My resolve is I don't see it here. Wait. Which is the stat that raises your resolve? Sorry. Integrity, right? Integrity, which I have 3 dots in. So my resolve by default is 4. So I start with 4 as which I think is probably in my character sheet, right? Did I not? Yeah, resolve is 4. Okay, so I actually did math that right? So that's my default resolve. But if the role I'm resisting against was related to my major ambition, reclaiming homestead, like somebody tries to talk me out of this, I get a +3 to my resolve, making my resolve effectively 7 against talking me out of this. Or if you're trying to get me to go out drinking the night before the big fight, that my resolve is going to be 6 for that, to resist that because of my discipline. That's what I said. Okay, cool. I like that. I like that your values, your virtues have a mechanical effect on resisting manipulation and resisting things that would make you betray those virtues. I like that. That's a solid. All right. So let's go back to the full overhead. Resolve up or down is relevant to social influence action targeting her. When targeted by social influence action, determine if any of her virtues and intimacy are relevant to the nature of the influence. Yada yada yada. Okay, so all that stuff applies. So that's very cool. Oh, and if it lowers, okay, so minor intimacies, add or remove 2, major intimacies, add or remove 3. Cool. Okay, so all that stuff helps you, better manage your social. I like that is all having an effect. That's solid. A little breakdown here at the top. Breaking it down. Characters may use social influence in action scenes and during combat, and charms may modify their use. To know when a charm could apply, we break the individual steps into numbered components, then tie the charm's activation time to this. What that means for the player is that you can only declare a single charm at each step of the influence. The steps are as follows. 1. The player declares her intention for the influence. Step 2. Form the dice pool for the action using an appropriate attribute plus ability and adding any modifiers. Step 3. The target determines if any virtues or influences adjust his resolve. 4. On a success, the player utilizes extra successes to determine the extent of her influence action on the target. The target may choose to resist the social influence. All right, so let's see how that works. Social do not need to target a character's virtue or intimacy, though trying to get her to act in accordance with them is easier than not. If the target's virtue or intimacy is going to play, then he modifies his resolve accordingly. Where it would apply, increase success cost of additional effects by the virtue or intimacy value. For example, trying to persuade a character to act against her major virtue with additional successes increases its cost by 3. The target may always choose to resist the social influence on page 134. Okay, so you do... Okay, interesting. So you roll... So resistance doesn't apply yet. You do determine what your resistance is going to be, right? If any virtue, just a resolve, basically. But first, you roll... Well, let's see. Persuading a willing target. It's fine. Let's see how this resistance goes on page 134 here. And there's a red rule here. We'll get to that shortly. It's interesting there. So social resistance isn't magical, nor is it mind control. Thank you. Characters may be susceptible to influence, but there are limits to what you can get them to do. When influence action succeeds, if the target is unwilling to go along with whatever, they have 2 choices: accept a hard bargain, or instead, or ignore it entirely. A hard bargain is a narrative tool that allows the player to resist a social influence at a cost to the character, which I'm okay with. The assault might perform a different related action, suffer a setback, or weaken one of her intimacies by doing so. The player then, player of the character refusing the influence sets the hard bargain. Okay, so basically you make a deal. You're like, hey, I'm not going to accept this influence, but I understand that by doing so, I'm hurting my connection to my cousin or whatever. And so you take a bargain, you take a hard bargain. Cool, I'm okay with that. That's solid. But a player can always choose to completely ignore an influence action if she feels it is too far from her character's nature. She ignores it, the influencing character does not get any of his chosen influence effects and instead gains his extra successes as bonus dice to another roll in the same scene. These dice cannot be used to reattempt the same influence. The red rule and acceptable influence still apply. Okay, this is good. They're addressing my concerns, and I'm pleased by that. Example, Heather decides Mercurial Iris would never reveal information about the heir to this guard. The storyteller suggests Heather accept a hard bargain and give up the location of the circle, selling out her friends, rather than the character she's trying to rescue. She decides she isn't interested in a hard bargain and refuses the influence outright. The guard gains 3 bonus dice, which the storyteller chooses to apply to the first combat roll. This is solid. I like that. You can always say no. But it doesn't negate the effects of the roll entirely. It means, okay, so because you are so focused on resisting this and saying no, the other player now basically gets a sucker punch in or whatever. They get an advantage. Yeah, this is solid. I don't mind this. Now the red rule, I'm real curious about this because it sounds like they are addressing specifically the types of things that I'm worried about. A character can only be seduced or otherwise put in a sexual situation if everyone at the table is okay with it. Otherwise, such an attempt fails immediately. This is completely up to the player's discretion. Only they can decide if they want their characters to be seduced, and this applies on an attempt-by-attempt basis. Allowing it once doesn't void the ability to deny an attempt in the same scene or even by the same character. If no one in your group chooses to invoke this rule, that's fine too, but players don't have to watch characters get put into a sexual situation if they aren't comfortable. Groups that feel comfortable doing so should allow characters the full range of their seductive prowess when entangled with storyteller-controlled characters. But remember, the storyteller is also a player and actions should also respect her boundaries. Thank you! Thank you! Yes! Look, ask the player, sure, you want to flirt with the hot bartender? Look, man, I made that bartender hot on purpose. I knew what I was doing. I knew you were going to thirst. But but there's a player there. So, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Look at me. Look at me. Of course you want to hit on me. I get it. And all of my characters are sexy because they're played by me. Again, I understand. But I'm going to need you all to keep it in your pants. At least ask permission. Okay, cool. Anyway, point is, all jokes aside, and all that worrying before the previous ad break about like, oh boy, here we go, we're going to the thing that's bad all the time. I mean, not really my attitude, but you know what I mean. But no, cool, well done, Exalted. I actually have no problems with most of this. I don't need to finish this unacceptable influence thing again here, but overall, yeah, overall this is pretty solid. This seems like a good social influence. So there's all these, we kind of skipped all this, right? So let's see. So I roll and I get, there are specific things that I can do, and they cost X amount of successes on the roll. So you can dissuade, you can instill, create a new feeling or belief, you can persuade over 2 successes, you can read intentions depending on variable successes, set up, strengthen, weaken a connection. Like, cool. Like, there are this specific system, the fact that you're spending X amount of successes for the kind of thing you're trying to do. While I am pro in general, play it out, right? Okay, let's take a quick step back, because I've run into this from both sides, right? I've run into the thing where a character has very high social stats, but the player doesn't. They're shy. They're maybe not as comfortable. They don't quite have the facility with words that the sexy bard that they're playing has. Blah blah blah. And then those people might do something like they'll roll a d20, and they'll get a 16, and they say, well, my character does a flowing speech and they describe how much they want to motivate and how important this fight is for everybody, and they have like high performance and high charisma and whatnot, and I roll the 16 and I get like +3 for my charisma, and I got another +2 for my performance, and so that's like a 21, whatever, sure. And cool, as a GM, I'm gonna go like, yeah, your performance is incredible. It's overwhelming. The crowd responds, blah, 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 cool. But you'll notice that the player did not get up on stage and perform. Their character did. And then I've seen it from the other side where, this is one of those things where like, I am lucky to be blessed with friends and with fellow role players. You know what? This quick shout out to my buds here at Fandible, the best tabletop RPG actual play podcast that you have never heard of, and then the longest running one that you've never heard of. But anyway, they are incredible role players. But occasionally they will forget that their character is a troglodyte. That they're playing a character with absolutely no social skills and no ability to make a powerful speech and influence hearts and minds. And so the player, will all of a sudden step forward and do an incredible performance and put on like, holy shit, like you in real life rolled an at 20 on that. Holy shit, I'm so pleased to be your friend. That was an amazing performance. Now go ahead and roll it. Yeah, that's a 4. That's nobody was paying attention or whatever. Like those moments can be fun, can be wacky, but this almost feels like the point is, okay, I'm going to do me a social influence, right? I'm going to do a social influence on this person. And then at that point, you kind of step out of the game a little, because now it's a system. Now it's this mini game. Now I got to calculate. I got to go, okay, so these are the stats I'm using. And then the target has a resolve, and then I'm going to make a roll, and I'm going to choose a set of effects that I have influence effects based on my results. And then you're going to, the target may choose to resist or react in however they want to react. And then there's a roll. Like here's the thing. Like at no point in this breaking it down thing is it indicated like this is the I guess this is the part here is where you just re-roll from the dice pool. So I would say if we're kind of like you declare your intentions, if you're going to role play it out, right? You would form your dice pool, and modifiers and whatever. No, I'm curious, okay, because the game doesn't say, and since this game has the stunts, that's one where I would say actually no. If you put on a show, right? If you put on a performance, if you at the gaming table stand up and do a speech and inspire me in real life, I'm gonna give you a stunt. You can add that to that roll before you make it. There's still the chance that you might roll and get nothing, but it's unlikely, I think. Again, I'd have to see how it plays, but I think that's fine. I think that's fine. So that's the point. But I'm just trying to figure out within the system whether it makes sense to do the performance first and then roll, or roll and based on the results do the performance, right? Because I've seen games do it in both sides. Because there is that whole like I at the table do the performance and then I roll, I get a 1, and so I like, and then after that speech I just fall flat on my face into a pile of dog shit, I guess, because I rolled a 1. Or vice versa, I did a very bad, it's like, hey everybody, you should fight the dragon, come on. And then I roll an nat 20 and I was like, yeah, fight the dragon. Like that should not have worked, and yet here we go, right? With this, because it's more than just it's a single roll, actual roll, but the fact that there's enough back and forth, you're building a dice pool, you might add charms, there might be situational stuff, virtues and stuff, effect. There's enough that I think you can, besides and toss in the whole thing with the stunts. And at that point I would say, okay, there's enough stuff you can do as a player to increase your chances of success that I think it's worth it to perform first, roll after. Because even if the roll is poor, I can build a story around that better than if I just have to go like, oh fuck, that was an amazing speech, but you rolled a 1, so like it's still possible to do an amazing speech and roll 0 successes, right? But at that point, you've built a dice pool, so the point is like make a story, right? Build a narrative and a story out of it. And it's easier to me, I think, to build a narrative out of why or why not you succeeded in a system like this. So let's take a look real quick at the unacceptable influence there before we do our final review of the influence, and then we'll do the final ad break, and we'll do the last break of today's stream. Let's see what unacceptable influence is. So certain types of influence never work on a character. No amount of oration or debate will make someone commit suicide or turn against their strongest ideals. If a request is so antithetical to the nature and personality of its target, it is unacceptable influence. A character targeted with unacceptable influence may reject it outright without granting bonus dice to the influencer even before the roll. A player may still choose to have her character follow a course of action put forward by unacceptable influence, but only because she thinks it makes sense. The character cannot be coerced into doing it. Some charms can form a character into certain kinds of unacceptable influence. So, okay, mind control. Following examples of unacceptable influence, persuading a character to perform an action above the threshold of success is spent on persuasion. For example, asking someone to take on a serious, dangerous task without spending extra successes. Any influence that could cause a character to kill himself or do something he knows would result in a certain death, or asking a character to act in a way that would require her to abandon or ignore her major virtue. Okay, so again, I like that there is a specific, there's like resisting and being able to say no, but that grants some kind of benefit or whatever. But there is a way to say like, no, that request is so antithetical to what my character stands for that no, they would never, and it wouldn't be fair to give the person trying to influence me some kind of bonus because I'm not distracted, I'm not torn, I'm not considering this is an acceptable influence. No, right? So it makes sense that that's an option. But also that's the kind of thing that then means like, well, then no roll happens, right? You don't. So interesting. I like that. I like this. Okay, overall, multiple targets. Okay, so there's rules for how you can influence a crowd, social actions in combat. Let's look at that real quick before we go into ads. Character may make an influence action during combat or interaction. Doing so is the same as written, though it must make sense. You can certainly shout at a fast set of commands or even make a quick emotional plea, but a long-winded discussion or oratory takes too long for the fast action in combat. Okay, cool. Yeah, that all makes sense. And then Danielle is playing an Amethyst Blade, a Dawn Solar, who is trying to inspire a group of soldiers to attack. She rolls with 3 dice penalty and nets 5 successes. Because it's a group of soldiers, right? So that's the penalties here. And that's 5 successes. She's even with a penalty 5 successes. I'm clearly underestimating how many dice and successes you're meant to get in this game. Any character with resolve 5 or lower is persuaded to act but will not put themselves in danger. The lowest resolve against the action is 2, and she spends 2 successes to persuade the group to go all in and risk injury. The soldiers with resolve 2 or 3 act with the full effects of the influence. Anyone with resolve 4 or 5 will act under the base level of success, and anyone who resolves 6 or more will ignore the effects of the influence. All right. So all that said, I am very pleased. I am very pleased with the social influence system. Despite all my cynicism and all the warnings and everything I gave before, I am very pleased with the social influence system in Exalted Essence. Again, curious to see how much more, if there is, of this in 3rd edition, right? Like, are there more different effects, different actions you can take? Are there additional things? Are there extra steps or anything? Or is this basically what we got in 3rd edition? I'm curious. Again, if anyone's on chat or watching this video after the fact and wants to comment on the, comments, please do let me know. Let me know if this is basically the same thing as 3rd edition Exalted, or if this is a much simplified and 3rd edition is much more complicated, and if many of these things, like stuff like the red rule, is still in place. I'm real curious about that, so please let me know in chat. And hey, thank you. Yeah, let's deny that. Automod, thank you so much, Automod, for keeping that guy, because that was a spammer. You guys didn't see it, because Automod is pretty dope. Okay, so we got to go to ads real quick, and we'll do that in just a second. And when we come back, we'll have less than half an hour, so we're not going to get to go through all of combat. But we'll start off before we finish the stream. So excited for that. But in the meantime, we will, as usual, be right back. Good afternoon, nerds. Welcome back to the very last bit of today's stream. We got 20 minutes to go before 5 p.m., at which point I call it quits. Could I keep going longer? Of course I can. My endurance is just it's like a horse. It's incredible. I could just go on all night, but I won't. I won't, because it is Thursday and it is in fact Thanksgiving, and I want y'all to go have a good Thanksgiving. Also, I'm kind of hungry. I'm looking forward to ending the stream today because I'm peckish. I'm a bit peckish. I got something in the fridge that I'm gonna warm up. I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. It's a mystery. I've got a mystery. I've got a mystery box in the fridge. I've got multiple mystery boxes that I'm just gonna crack open one of them, put it in the microwave, see what happens. And you will also know what happens if you come back tomorrow. Listen, tomorrow is Friday. What are we doing tomorrow, Friday? Because it's not going to be coming back to this. All right. Am I going to look at the combat before we end? Yes, I will. We got less than 20 minutes. We're not going to get very far. So instead, I'm going to take a little bit of time and talk to you about the future. And the future is tomorrow. Tomorrow, now, again, I've already said this. Chat's been quiet, which I get that tryptophan is hitting hard, but just in case anybody came in and hadn't seen the previous alerts, let's go ahead and there we go. Send out the schedule, and that is my current schedule for streaming. That is going to change in the next few weeks, but for now it's going to stay pretty stable. And I will be back tomorrow according to that schedule. What will we be doing tomorrow? Tomorrow we will be back on my previous bullshit of working on my game, Seeker's Call. We had been kind of working on the combat system for that game, and I think for tomorrow, what did I need to do for tomorrow for Seeker's Call? We're working on some core systems, right? A lot of stuff is getting sort of tied into itself. Like we start creating something and then realize, oh wait, we need to flesh out this other system before we can keep moving on that. So we're kind of getting to that point. I think it's basically combat is one of the ones. I think we redid it. I want to see how far we got in combat. So combat, and then I think we're going to get into a lot more of the power usage, because right now the system as it stands is very simple. Like pretty much all effects are either, in a mechanical sense, they're either adding dice or removing dice from your pool, and that's basically it. The only extra thing is they might give you resonance, which gives you some additional options on how to roll. But otherwise, like, there's not a lot of room because the damage is handled weird. So I think we're gonna tomorrow, when we start dealing with specific magical effects and specific things that we want them to do besides just adding or removing dice from a roll, we're gonna be looking at stuff like discords and their inaptitudes, all of which boil down to just adding or removing dice from a roll. I don't know, man. We got some work to do tomorrow. We got some stuff to figure out, because I want things to feel effective, right? If you've got two abilities, if you've got two separate abilities, and one of them is fireball, the other one is water ball, and both abilities do the same thing, right? Both abilities give you +3 on your combat roll. Just as an example, what's the real difference between them, right? Yes, one is fire, one is water, but is there a system in the game that makes that distinction matter, or is it purely narrative? And so that's going to complicate things, right? We're going to have to figure out, are we doing something like tags? So we're going to say, okay, like casting fireball applies the burning tag, while casting water ball applies the soaked tag, or something along those lines. Like, that's not really something that's in the game right now. And also, what do those mean? If we do add them, what do they mean in the game? Do they mean that we are like, if we add a tag system, what's it for? What specifically are we doing with the tag system, right? We don't want to add anything that doesn't serve its specific purpose. So the point is, tomorrow, look, this is what I do, indie tabletop RPG design. I'm a nerd. And tomorrow we're gonna do some of that on my own game, because I talk a lot of shit. Can I take it? Yeah, it comes, it goes. Depends on the day. All right, so as we finish up today's stream, the last 15 minutes, let's take a look at the basic concept, because combat has been looming over us. Look at that. That's 8 whole steps to combat. In fact, rather than going here, we can look at this tomorrow, or rather next week. I think to finish up, let's look at this breaking it down. Let's look at these steps, right? Because a lot of abilities and stuff that we saw before kind of specifically refer to these steps, right? In other combat systems, in other games, we've seen stuff like, okay, during the ready phase, do this. During the aim phase, do this. During the strike phase, do that. During, like, they give the various steps and stages of combat sort of combat-y narrative names. But in this game, what we saw very specifically is like, okay, so this power applies before step 3 of combat. Oh, this power applies after step 6, like stuff like that. So they were specifically referring to these steps. So I think almost even before we go into the rest of them, we learn what a withering attack or decisive attack or stuff is. Let's first look at those 8 steps. We got an 8-step program, right? To see. So first, accept that you're going to punch a dude in the face. I think that's step 1. Let's see, breaking it down. In basic combat, characters roll dice to attack and meet defense, then either build power or roll damage dice and subtract soak to deal damage. It's a simple process, they claim, but Exalted have access to powerful charms that can greatly modify it. As such, we've broken down combat into a number of specific steps to let players know if and when they can apply charms and other abilities. What this means for the players is that you can only activate a single charm at each step of the combat round. You don't need to memorize it. This chart helps determine when you can apply your charms in combat. It is not your attack or action. You cannot declare step 1 charms. However, if you are being targeted by an attack, you may use defensive charms that applies on step 5 or step 7 or counterattack on step 8. Any exceptions to this rule will be noted in the charms text, which, we saw several charms that had exceptions and such. So cool. Okay, so step 1. Declare your action. If making an attack, state whether it is withering or decisive. So a little bit like my own game where you make a roll, but it's after the roll is when you decide whether you want to discover or write the result. So there's a level of like, what kind of attack do you want to make? The character must have accrued enough power equal to or greater than a target's hardness to make a decisive attack. Miscellaneous actions are always declared on step 1. Wager power now. Okay, so it sounds like from the steps, there are 2 types of sort of attack or damage, right? There's a target's hardness, which you need to overcome with your power. And so there's a step called build power, right? There's an ability called, so I guess you are using attacks to build power until you can overcome your target's hardness, at which point then you can make a decisive attack. That sounds correct, I think. So step 2, declare a defensive action. The storyteller or the player states that their defensive intent and may provide an interesting stunt. Okay. Step 3, determine attack pool and roll dice. Form a dice pool using attribute plus combat ability and apply any bonuses or penalties. Roll the dice, apply any success-based bonus or penalties to the result. If a miscellaneous action is rolled, roll it now. Step 4, apply defense. The opponent's defense is a static value for either parry or evasion, whichever is higher. The attacker must meet or exceed defense. So for example, my character's defense was probably not great. His defense was 6 actually, so not too shabby. Wow, where did I get that high defense? Okay. Apply defense, so 5, determine damage pool. If the attack is withering, do not deal damage. Instead, gain 1 power if the attack hit, and 1 more for each extra success. Okay, cool. And then just jump from there to step 8 if it's a withering attack. If it's a decisive attack, if the attack is decisive, the damage pool is equal to the amount of power spent plus extra successes plus any other modifiers. Spend power now. Step 6, roll damage. Apply any success-based bonuses or penalties to the damage result. Non-combat damage applies here. Step 7, apply soak. Soak subtracts successes from the damage roll. Any remaining successes deal health damage to the character. Soak can reduce damage to 0. Step 8, counterattack. If applicable, this starts the process over from step 1. Counterattacks may not be activated in response to other counterattacks. So it's not that different. It sounds complicated, but it's actually, it's pretty much the same system that you get in other games like this. It's basically, say you're attacking, say if you're defending, and then do the roll, right? Get your dice, do your roll. The difference here is that whole withering and decisive. So it looks like at first you're trying to build enough power, because you don't take down their hardness, right? The cards must have accrued enough power equal to or greater than a target's hardness to make it. Okay, so yes, so you do need to accrue enough power to overcome the hardness, ladies. But once you have that, you have enough power to overcome hardness. That's when you're going to do a decisive attack, because they utilize that built-up power to deal damage. But that hardness, does it take away? Is there something here? I'm curious. I mean, I guess we'll see this next week. Because did my character have a hardness? Yeah, it does. He has a hardness of 3. I don't remember how he determined that, but he has a. So you need to. So in order to hurt Bob, rather, you need to at least gather 3 power. Right? And then effectively dealing lasting damage to an opponent. Built up power that equals or exceeds target's hardness. She can make a decisive attack on her turn, wagers how much power to spend, which must be as much as the target's hardness, but she can choose to spend more in order to make a more devastating blow. Then she makes an attack against her opponent's defense as per normal if the attack is successful. So it doesn't look. So you got your defense. So my defense is 6. So I still get to, according to this, requiring 5 power, uses risk 6 power, rolls 4, splits combat, gets 6 successes, enough to beat his defense of 4 by 2. Her damage pool is equal to 8 dice, 2 extra successes, plus 6 power spent. Oh, okay. So if a character, somebody's punching Bob, right? Let's get Bob back up. Here we go. Somebody's punching Bob. His hardness is 3. His defense is 6. So you're fighting him. First thing you need to do is gather at least 3 power, right? And if you have more, you can spend more. You've got at least 3 power. Then at that point, and you gain power by doing withering attacks, right? But let's say you've done some withering attacks. This fight has been going on for a bit, and now you have enough power. You have at least 3 power, so you can make a decisive attack. That roll then happens, and you add your 3 powers. They are spent. So next round, you would have to build power again, if you don't take me down. But because you spent those 3 dice, that hardness doesn't come into effect again. You don't roll hardness, just number. It's likewise with defense. You don't really roll defense, it looks like. There is that you can like attack, whatever, but your defense is just the number. So now, with those 3 extra dice from power, or if I had more power, I could put more of them, put as much power as you want into it. But if you have a lot of power and it's just 3, you might do like 1 power 3, and then if I still have 3 more power, then in the next round do another decisive attack, which would be kind of cool. But now that attack with those extra dice has to overcome my defense, which is 6. And if you get even once, defender wins, so you need to at least roll at least 7 successes to actually get a hit in. You need to overcome those 6 that I have in defense. But once you get that 7, then it all goes. Wait. Let's reread this, right? So the power does. So power goes to his dangerous opponent, rolls forces combat and gets his success. Oh, interesting. So the power doesn't get added to the attack roll, from what I'm seeing here. Sorry, I'm actually right off the screen. So power doesn't get added to the attack roll. It gets added to the damage roll. But you still need to spend at least enough power to overcome the hardness in order to do any damage at all, right? But you spend the power. That doesn't help you hit better. It's just more damage. You do your regular attack roll. Now you have enough damage to do a decisive attack. And if it beats the defense, then you roll separately for damage, which is 2 extra, whatever you get, plus however much power you spent. So every dot of power is another dice of damage. So this brings back some bad memories, because occasionally you'll be like, I just rolled fistfuls of dice and I got fucking 12 successes to kick that werewolf in the nards. Because I did my lore roll, and it turns out werewolf's got nards, right? So I rolled 12 successes to kick that werewolf in the nards. Fuck yeah. I needed 6 successes to do it because it's a werewolf. So I got 6 successes. So I got the 1 success, and then I add all those extra successes as dice, not as damage, it's just as dice. So now I'm rolling another handful of dice to do damage, and I get not a single success on that one. Oh, that's frustrating. Oh, that's frustrating. And that's definitely a thing that can happen here. That said, people don't have that many health levels, right? So just a couple it can be enough to really hurt you, and that's how these games work. But boy, good to know that that's still there. That potential experience of just, hey, I rolled all these dice and it did nothing, and now there's an angry werewolf that wants to have a word with me about my attempt to kick it in the nards. That can happen. That's here. Does that earn like a wow? Sure. Why not? Why not? He's going to let me point and laugh at you when my werewolf then proceeds to destroy your character. I guess, but that was kind of a sarcastic wow, because okay, fine. We've all had good and bad experiences. Well, at the same time, we've all had those experiences where you rolled the one hit enough to just get the damage through, and then just absolutely destroy them and roll like 5 10s, and just incredible from what would have been otherwise a glancing blow. So it can be real swingy at times, I guess, but it can be a lot of fun. So sure, fine. If I find that this is happening too much, where you're hitting but not doing any damage, I might do some house rolling to keep the game fun again. But otherwise, sure, pretty standard World of Darkness stuff. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and take us back out to the intro screen, where it's just my ginormous face, and of course, again, the fit. Thank you, as always, folks, so much for hanging out with me today. It is time to wrap up. So anybody who's been in chat, either from earlier or joined later on, as always, thank you for hanging out. Have a happy, joyous, and honestly, just filled with food and or just joy and happiness, or whatever, or just chill, whatever it is that you need on this Thanksgiving day to just have a good one. I hope you do. I hope your Thanksgiving has been amazing. I hope the rest of your weekend is great. I will be back tomorrow again, 2 p.m. Eastern, as usual, working on my own game and maybe playing some video games. We'll see how that goes. Am I going to be back tonight playing video games? Most likely no, but there's always a non-zero chance I might, and for that sort of stuff, it's always best to keep an eye on my socials, which I have once again put on chat. Look, I'm just trying to get into the habit of remembering to do these things, right? So there you go. Enjoy that. Hope you had fun this stream. I've actually, I was unsure if I was going to do a stream today, I'm going to be honest, and I have ended up enjoying it far more than I thought I would. So this was a blast. Looking forward to tomorrow. Have a great evening, and I'll see you, hopefully, again soon. Fare thee well, folks. Farewell.